Hi, everybody. It's Gene Simmons, and you're not, and you're listening to the Potter Than Hell podcast with Steve, BC, BB, and Dylan. But you knew that, didn't you?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Potter Than Hell podcast. This is your last stop on the crazy train of hard rock and heavy metal. So sit back, buckle in, and hang on. Here we go.
Hello, Potter Than Hellions. Welcome back to the Potter Than Hell podcast. This is Steve, your host. With me this week is
BC.
And diagonally from him this week is
BB.
And our keyboard player today is
Dylan.
And back by popular demand, our buddy Dave Borosky. How are you, buddy?
Oh, it is a pleasure to be back. Always a pleasure.
Always good to have Dave. He's got his Who shirt on today, which Dylan, I'm sure, could appreciate, but it's probably about it, though.
I asked if we could do the Who, and you went, no.
You and Dave could do a side Who.
It would be a must-list, I guess, for all the metal fans out there. It would be a must-list.
You know what? Maybe I'll do an album duo with Dave. And I'll do the Who.
I'm just saying, without the Who, there would be no Paul Stanley.
Who? Why?
A lot of Paul Stanley comes from Pete Townsend, and there's a lot of that. DNA.
I know the windmill thing. That's the only thing that comes to mind for me.
They won't get fooled. They literally do
Smashing
the
the
whole
guitar.
part of won't get fooled.
I
again.
know, and that part of the show sucks. I'm sorry. It's just they throw it in there during Lick It Up.
They were a good live. I was lucky enough to catch them.
Well, they just played up here, right?
Yeah, they were fantastic. I couldn't believe I've been doing my "you better see them before they go" kind of homage.
Yeah, I had that kind of thought, but then I'm like, nah, it's only the Who.
They sounded, Daltrey sounded fantastic. Townsend sounded fantastic. Opening act it was just a great. And Bethel, it was my first show at Bethel.
Bethel's a nice place to see a show.
Good. I actually lost a grown human man there, which was very interesting. But went to the bathroom.
Had to be your brother.
Nope.
No.
The guy that I just went up there, got a ride. I learned a lot. They drop you off, but you have to walk back down to the highway if you want to get a ride if you're not driving, because they closed that road. Leaving.
Oh, you can't get picked up.
You can't get picked up. So
Oh,
we
see, I
had to
didn't
hike
know
it
that.
down there a couple.
I mean, we took
I'd say a good 2 miles.
Yeah.
A good hike.
It's easy getting out, though. I mean, getting in and out.
Yep.
All right.
Great venue.
Cool. So, once again, Dave, welcome back. Glad to have you back with us. Always love having Dave. So, with Dave here, you guys know it's going to be something classic rock, which we are going to do classic rock live albums this week. And it's weird the way it came out of the albums that we picked, and we'll discuss that later on. But it was kind of, and I actually didn't even notice it until today when I was just kind of going through stuff, getting stuff together for the episode. But Dave, how's things going with Blue London before we get going?
Very good. Playing out. It's nice to see people back out again into the swing of things, and our lead singer is just fighting COVID, battling it for the last 2 weeks. We had to cancel some jobs. Yeah. So she went down after all this time of playing out and being out and with your mask on, and she got it at work. So
no shit.
So there you have it.
Jeez.
But get out there, support your local live music.
Absolutely, we got to get out. We haven't seen you guys in a while. We got to get out and see you guys again. It's been a while. Is Jules drumming for you guys now?
Still drumming. Yep. Doing a lot of acoustic stuff too.
They were rocking the West Side last couple weeks ago.
Oh, yeah, at the feast.
You guys played the feast, right? We were out of town for the feast. We were in Virginia.
Yeah, it's nice to play for the local crowd
Yeah.
and do something nice for the community. Yeah.
That's cool. You're still not doing any Maiden though, right?
That's what doesn't sell at the church picnics.
Imagine busting out Flight of Icarus at the
I would love to.
at the Mount Carmel feast. That'd be fucking awesome.
It's not the first request we've had for Flight of Icarus. It's not. You got to talk to the boss.
That'd be awesome.
I
I know.
have so much sway.
I know.
You're like he gets that little bass solo after a drunken BB keeps screaming, bass solo, bass solo.
All right. BB, how about you? What do you got going on?
We're taking Kill back to college 2 days, so it's family's getting cut down by one. Then next week the other boy will be gone, so we'll be down to one kid. It's gonna be interesting to say the least. We'll ponder through it, I guess.
What's up, BC? How's it going, buddy?
Same old shit, just running around, watching baby a lot, seeing our kids, and now I'm doing everything at midlife. Change diapers, quite an experience.
Right. BC's babysitting service.
For low feet.
Retire. And actually, I was gonna say that I saw the pictures of BC and his granddaughter. He had her on their Harley today and putting her in the fire truck, so that was cool. She's getting big. Awesome. Good for you. How are you doing? What's up with you, buddy?
Oh, not too much. Just
getting back in the swing of work after the vacation that we just had. So just getting back up to pace, catching up on emails, fun stuff like that.
Yeah, we just got back from a week in Myrtle Beach. We recorded an episode there last week. And speaking of last week, Dylan, let's talk about that episode real quick.
Yeah, a lot of fun. We had our two cousins on, Seth and Tyler. Fantastic episode. It introduced them to some of our hard rock and heavy metal picks for different songs and bands that we like, and got their good opinions on it. And they had some really cool insights that I wouldn't have expected from people outside of the genre that we listened to. Like, it was cool hearing their perspective on a lot of things.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was fantastic. They were, I'd say, like uber prepared. They had time stamps on for different parts and different songs, and talking about the solos and stuff like that. And I thought they did awesome. Seth and Tyler, thank you once again. It was awesome having you guys on there. And we had a great vacation in Myrtle Beach. Went down there. We were down there for a week. Went to the beach, went in the ocean, did a lot of eating, a lot of drinking, and then we had probably 17 to 20 of us in our family down there. So we had a really good time. We had a good group, and it's good to see everybody again. And it was fun. We had a great vacation. And then I came back to work on Monday, BC, and you and I worked, and all hell broke loose. So we had a rough 12-hour shift. BC and I did the night I came back 2 nights ago. So. But we had a good time, so it's great to be away, but good to be back. Ride home wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, so that's what we got going there. And in the news, you guys see Whitesnake canceled their American tour. I guess David Lee Roth. David Coverdale's got some kind of throat issue or illness or something like that, so they were supposed to tour with Scorpions. Double bill throughout the state, so they canceled. Scorpions are still doing the date. I don't know if they've replaced, or if they're going to get someone else for Whitesnake's part. I know Thunder Mother was the opening band, so I don't know if it was going to be a situation where they were trading off opening or just set Scorpions play then Whitesnake. I don't know or vice versa. So I'm not sure how that dynamic is going to work. But now we don't have to worry about it because Whitesnake's not playing. But I would hope that they would get like someone else. And nothing against Thunder Mother. I absolutely love them, but I think for them to play right now, to play arenas, they're going to need a double bill, I think, to put the asses in the seats for people that were looking forward to Whitesnake and Scorpions.
People that purchased their tickets already, they gotta fill that.
Yeah, because tickets have been on sale. I know they've been on sale because we were looking on going to, I think, the Atlantic City one. I think is the closest one to us, I think. So I hope they get another big decent sized name. I don't even know who would even fit that bill. I mean, it'd be cool to say get like Sammy Hagar or something like that in the circle. That would be kind of a cool bill to have. But I don't know if there's any plans for that. I haven't really read much into it, but it's pretty. Best of luck to David Coverdale. I think you may not see Whitesnake again. I think this would be it because I think this was going to be it to begin with.
Supposed to be.
So I don't know if he'll come back from that. I don't know, how bad it is or what it actually is because they didn't. It was kind of a vague thing that they put out. But at least now BC Red Beach can go back to Winger because they've had a replacement for Red Beach. But
that guy was a bit.
He was good. He was good.
Some stuff in it, but
hey, and 4 guitar players in the band. Who gives a shit? Put another guy in there. Fuck it. They'll be on Monsters Rock Cruise, so we'll at least get to see him on that one. And I want to wish my son Carson, my youngest son Carson, happy birthday. He is 25. The day that this is being released will be August 26th, and it will be his 25th birthday. So happy birthday, Carson. That would be BB's godson as well. And
my brother.
And Dylan's brother, absolutely. And former student of Dave. And co-worker of BC. And coach of Carson, Dave. And co-worker BC, myself. And
30 degrees of Carson.
Yeah. Yeah, so really, he's really connected to all of us here, literally. But happy birthday, Carson. Hope you have a great day. Today's August 10th that we're recording this episode, so we'll have a good birthday for Carson down the road. So before we get going, what do we listen to? BB, how about you? We'll start with you again. It's a BB night.
Loving the new Heat album. However you say that. Force Majeure.
Force Majeure.
Yeah.
Force majeure. But
Yeah, and I didn't take French in high school, so I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it, but loving that album. And also loving the new Megadeth song, Night Stalkers, about the 160th Battalion U.S. Army Black Ops helicopters. You know, we make those helmets up the road. So got to give props to those guys sneaking in there behind enemy lines at night and just kicking ass and taking names. And
Who else is on that song?
Ice-T.
Ice-T, baby.
Ice-T from Body Count.
There goes the neighborhood.
Yeah.
How about you, Dave? What are you listening to?
New Porcupine Tree album came out. Closure Continuation. Fantastic. Steven Wilson. It's their first album. I think they started recording in maybe 2011. It's their first since, I believe, 2009 after the incident. And it's just a great piece of work. If you're a Porcupine Tree fan, it's him. Gavin Harrison is on drums. He plays with Pineapple Thief and did some work with a lot of work with King Crimson. So it's tight. It's a tight album. Richard Barbieri's on keys. It's just a great album from start to finish. If you like this heavy-ish acoustic, it's got its own flavor to it. You'd have to give it a listen. But Steven Wilson's very good. He does a lot of great mastering and songwriting.
What incident are we talking about?
No, The Incident. That's the name of the album.
Oh, okay. I thought there was like an incident that happened. Since the incident. Since
The album is The
something
Incident.
happened. Shit.
So this is the first
So
album.
that's the name of the album now. The incident.
Yes.
Or that was the last one.
Yeah, the last one.
Okay.
Closure Continuation. So
Okay.
Oh, the incident.
So this is the other incident.
fantastic.
The next incident.
Give it a listen.
Okay.
Got a lot of great tunes.
I've heard the name before, but I've never heard them. It's like Prague stuff, right?
Alternative proggy stuff. I mean, they get their start in late 90s, early 2000s. So
Interesting. BC, what do you got going?
I've been delving back into Lillian Axe, getting ready for the new album coming out. This might come out. I don't know when's this episode come out.
August 26th.
No, never mind.
It's like September, right? That
No,
it comes out?
August 19th.
Oh, so it'll be out when you
will
guys
be
are
out.
listening to this. So it's the death, rebirth, or something
From the womb to the tomb.
from the womb to the tomb. Okay.
Birth to Earth. It's a West Side Story tribute album, correct?
Yeah. God knows what Steve Blaze. He's getting older now, and he's
It opens up with that.
songwriting craziness. New video comes out tomorrow. Or no, what's day?
Today's the 10th,
No, what day
the
was?
12th. Huh?
No.
It's Wednesday.
Thank you.
Oh, day of the week. Oh, okay. I had to ask that today myself. What actual day of the week is it?
Friday they released a video for their first single out the album.
Oh, cool.
So, exactly like 1 week before.
All right. I'll go next. For me, new Amon Amarth album, produced by our boy Andy Sneap. I think it's fantastic. And for some reason, the first time I listened to it, I don't know if I didn't have my headphones turned up enough, and I was like, "Wow, this kind of sounds low." But I think it was a mix between the volume on the phone and the volume on the headphones.
And the volume in your ears.
Well, that too. Well, the constant ringing gets in the way sometimes as well. But I gave it a good listen the other day. Love it, friggin' love it. It's more like heavy metal, than the I don't know. It's different. It's different from Amon Amarth, but it's kind of the same. There's I don't know. I find it weird calling it a duet with Johan Haig and Biff Byford singing a song together. It kind of doesn't sound like. Kind of sounds a little tender when you say they're singing a duet, but they both singing this song is fucking fantastic. So I'm listening to that. It's called The Great Heathen Army, and I've listened to tons of playlists because I had a 12 to 13 hour drive to Myrtle Beach and a 12 to 13 hour drive from Myrtle Beach. But on the way home, I did listen to the full Van Halen David Lee Roth catalog. However, I made a playlist, so I skipped Women in Love and
So he didn't listen to the whole catalog.
what is it? Could This Be Magic? They're the only two songs I left out of the David Lee Roth
Be
era.
Magic?
That's a good
So-
tune.
I fucking hate them two songs.
It has
That's
the
a great
title of the
acoustic.
album in it.
I don't care. It still sucks.
Love.
So I did go through all those albums. So it was a fun portion of the ride. And what do you got going, Dylan?
When we were in Myrtle Beach, there was the song that came on, Octane, I believe. It was from this upcoming horror movie called The Retaliators, and it was the Retaliators theme, 21 Bullets. It was written by Nikki Sixx, and I guess it's for this upcoming horror movie. And it featured a bunch of different people on it, from Asking Alexandria, From Ashes to New, and of course Ice Nine Kills. God forbid I can go an episode without mentioning Ice Nine Kills, but they feature on it. I don't know who exactly. I can't find that information anywhere, but it seems like this horror movie has a lot of those guys involved in the cast and stuff like that. So the theme was pretty good, though. I don't know if you remember it, Dad, but I really kind of dug it. So I'm excited to listen to the soundtrack. And actually, that one song I had, the hidden gem that featured Spencer Charnas, that Blow song, that's also on the soundtrack. So,
what's the name of the movie?
The Retaliators is the name of the movie. I think it's coming out in September.
Okay, cool. All right, so that's what we got going. I have some Amon Amarth, some Van Halen, and shitload of other stuff on playlists that I had and for my vacation. BC's got some delving into and prepping for the new Lillian Axe album, From the Womb to the Tomb, that's coming out on the 12th or 19th of August. So you should be able to get it as we speak. So get out there, support BC and his band. BB's got some heat, Force Majora, and Megadeth song Night Stalkers featuring Ice-T. Dave's got the new Porcupine Tree album, the album after the incident.
That is correct.
And Dylan has we just call it the soundtrack?
The Retaliators theme.
The Retaliators theme.
It's called 21 Bullets.
21 Bullets from the Retaliators soundtrack.
Yes.
All right, so that's what we got going. And we are going to now delve into our classic rock live albums. I wanted to get Dave back in because he will be back again as well when we continue the Bloister Cult album series, band series, because that'll be probably early next year, I think, Dave. So, and just for a little heads up there. I wanted everybody to pick one. I said pick anything up to 1983, I think I said. And it was weird because all the albums we're talking about, with the exception of BB's, are all from 1978. Which I didn't realize until today, and actually BC's not realizing until right now. But it was because I just wanted to write them down so I knew when I put them on the list who was going next. And so it's weird. So and we did a little picked out of my awesome new spring training Kansas City Chiefs hat. So it had to work out right. BB picked my name out first, so that's how we're rolling tonight. And I picked AC/DC, If You Want Blood, You've Got It. It was released in November 21st, 1978. It was recorded at the Apollo Theatre in Glasgow, Scotland, and is produced by Harry Vanda and George Young, which George Young, I believe, is the replacement for Malcolm Young right now. Though it's cousin George. I believe it's the same George Young. If I'm wrong, correct me. But
what about George?
What about George? So Dylan's going to look that up just to make sure right now. Thanks, Dylan. And the album's 52 minutes and 42 seconds. And I remember when I got this, I remember the car, and actually I have all the albums on vinyl. I was going to bring them tonight, but I totally forgot. The album's got Angus on the front with the guitar being thrust through his stomach, and he's got the face. You can see the drums and Bon Scott on the cover. Then on the back cover, you have Angus laying on the stage in front of the drum riser with the guitar neck sticking out of his back, which he's getting the guitar thrust through. Yeah, so that works out, right? Yeah, because
I don't know if anybody was doing the logistics on that.
Yeah, I know. Because just thinking about it now, it seems weird, right?
So it's George died in 2017. It's their nephew, Stevie.
Oh, the nephew. Oh, Stevie. Yeah, Stevie Young. Okay, George. Why am I thinking
son
George?
of their eldest brother.
Okay, all right.
Stephen.
Yeah, thank you. I for some reason I knew that didn't sound right, but I knew that was a cousin or uncle that was their producer in the
it's their
early
brother.
days.
It's their brother.
Yeah. So I first time I got this album, it opens up with Riff Raff. You get the loud crowd at the beginning, like a little humming start. You get the crowd builds up and you get that, and the crowd is just going insane. And really from the first notes that you hear play, the production is fantastic. I love the production of this album. It's crisp. You can hear everything. And what I love the most on this album is the fucking drum sound. I love the kick drum and the snare sound on this album. It's just I notice it throughout the whole album. This song's just a great ripping song because you get that good build, and it gets a little faster. Then when it kicks in, I think it's a great opener for the album. Kicks into Hell Ain't a Bad Place to Be, one of my favorite classic AC/DC songs. bombastic. You get a good driving thing in there. I like it. Sometimes I think this woman is kind of hot. Sometimes I think this woman is sometimes not. And when he does that one part in the song, you could see Angus doing his like Chuck Berry leg kicking thing going across the stage. Bad Boy Boogie's up next. I like and I'm sure it was cut out for time constraints, but I like the lack of banter on this album. It's like song, and I think really you get at the end of Bad Boy Boogie shredding solo in there, but it's got to build a kicks back in, short Angus solo at the end. But then when you get the Jack, you hear Bon Scott go, "Let's see if you recognize this one," because they do the Jack, and it's totally different lyrically than it is on the High Voltage album, and it's more straightforward, dirty than the innuendo on the album referencing the poker game. It's much more straightforward, but I love this version. I really do. Bon's vocal delivery here is like dirty sleaze rock before there was dirty sleaze rock. I think this song for me epitomizes what you get from like bands like Faster Pussycat, like those sleaze rock bands that you get in the early to mid 80s. I think that this is like the blueprint for what to do if you want to be a sleazy rock band. You're going to have a song like the Jack, and I think it's got the elements of the blues, got the blues solo in it. Then Angus tears it up, and you get some. And this one I don't even mind either. When they do the crowd thing, she's got the Jack. It's not an overlong thing, and because you guys know we go to a show, I fucking hate that. I came here to watch you sing, not have me sing, but that part I don't mind. I usually hate it. The second Angus second solo is killer. Problem Child's up next. This song's okay for me. I don't know, for some reason I don't really care for this one. It's good, but it's not great. And then you go to Whole Lotta Rosie. For me, this is the definitive version of Whole Lotta Rosie. I love everything about this. It's just so crisp sounding. You hear the crowd, Angus. The rocking, the kicking kicks ass. The solo's great. The band, listen to the solos in this song. The band is just fucking absolutely killer underneath it. Then we go to Rock and Roll Damnation, another favorite track of mine. Not a total like balls out rocker, but a good upper mid tempo one. I love the take the chance while you still got the choice. Just straightforward hard rock song, fantastic. High Voltage. This is always a fan favorite. I think this is one that even to this day I think the crowd really likes it. Just another fun AC/DC song. Hey, AC/DC, they are high voltage rock and roll. They really are. Although I do like the version better on AC/DC Live. It's like a 10-minute version. It's fucking fantastic. Fucking absolutely awesome.
Plus, you got who on drums on that one?
Plus, you got Chris Slade on the drums on that one. I love the drumming on that album. Dave's probably not agreeing, though, but he's a Phil Rudd guy. But I am, too, but I really like how Chris Slade plays them songs. He puts something a little extra into it that you're not really used to with AC/DC. You know what I mean? You're so used to the Phil Rudd stuff, and you get the mid '80s where Simon Wright's in there for a couple albums and stuff, but then Phil Rudd comes back. But I do like the different spin or attitude that Chris Slade does put on those songs when he plays with them for the tour with the one where they do the Donington show and the Razor's Edge. I'm sorry, I couldn't think of the album. The Razor's Edge that he drums on as well. Let There Be Rock. I'll give it a BC. Bon Scott, preacher style up there. The AC/DC's version of the history of rock and roll. You definitely get the Chuck Berry type solo in there where Angus is doing his foot kicking thing across the stage. Just and this is another one too. This is one that I pick out too, that the band is just a machine underneath. These guys are tight. They've been playing together for a couple years. This lineup, it was Bon Scott, Angus Young, Phil Rudd, Malcolm Young, and Cliff Williams playing, and these guys are tight as fuck, and it really shows in songs like Whole Lotta Rosie, Let There Be Rock, that they are just a machine. They are just literally like press play and just fucking go. And I was actually caught a little snippet. I don't even know what the hell it was on. I must have been on something on Facebook or something like that today, and it was a quick interview with Malcolm Young, and he's like, And they show the woman that's interviewing him too. He goes, when this band gets going, when we are hitting on all cylinders, he's like, it's better than sex. And they show the lady interviewing him. She's like, oh, and he's like, no, really. He said, when we're all in that mode, it's like that. And it's literally, it was just a quick clip that I just happened to see today, which I had never seen before. But this album, they captured these guys great. I just wish, that they. Well, I know they do have the one, like in the Bonfire box set, that they have the show from Paris that is from the Highway to Hell tour, but I'm kind of glad that we do have this as well, that they didn't wait until then to have that. So now you have the both of them. So now you have the like a more diverse set from the early set, and then you have, and the other one you have the songs from the Highway to Hell tour as well. But Let There Be Rock is just killer. They end the show with Rocker, quick encore from Dirty Deeds. This one's just okay for me. The band kills it on it as well, but good finisher, good hard rocker. Angus does the solo rips up on this one too. No complaints on that one. Just it's a little bit of a lesser song for me. Great single live album, and due to this is the full concert with the exception of 2 songs from that tour. They left off Dog Eat Dog, and they left off a thing they used to call the Fling Thing. It was a little mix-up thing that they used to do. I think, Dave, you look like you... Yeah. So they're the only 2 songs, really, that you didn't get from that tour. It's only a single live album, so they had to cut something off, which I would have loved to hear Dog Eat Dog. I think that's a great song. The production is fantastic. Like I said, totally love the drum sound on this one. And these guys were just a fucking killer live machine. What do you got for this one, Dave?
Oh, gee. That's the one thing I like. Number one, I will start off by saying, like, I'm not a fan of live albums. I'm not. But what it does for me is, especially nowadays, because what they do is they overdub everything. And that bothers me because there is something that's lost. But what I look for when I hear a live album is, I can't think of any show I've been to, and I've heard people say to me, like, I was at a show and it sucked. Like, the band was awful live. I've never been at any of those shows, but that's you look in to see if the band carries that caliber of what they can do in the studio and bring it out and do it live. So that's what the thing about these particular albums that were chosen. I just lucked out really because they were all albums that I grew up with. But this is one that's really near and dear to me because it's something that my brother and I listened to ad nauseum and drove my parents absolutely insane. They hated this shit. They hated it and being.
You mean Mel's not down with Angus Young? Come on, Mel.
Like it. No, it's recorded. I think during the Powerage tour, and it's to me it's that there's. I think I said it when we did the last podcast. There's 2 AC/DCs, really. There's the rawness of when they're doing things, and in those late 70s, and then John Lang comes in for Highway to Hell, and it's a different band.
And he streamlines them.
It's a different thing. So this to me is them at their rawness of bluesy, 3 to 5 chord tunes, punch you in the friggin' face. That's it. It's just that that just ate you up as a young boy. At least to me it did. You got Phil Rudd just banging those skins. There's no fills. There's a minuscule amount of fills.
Yeah. I don't even know why he has tom-toms.
I thought that when I was listening to the first 5 songs. I thought, where's the... And that's a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. Cliff Williams is banging. There's no fanciness there. He's just thumping on those notes, and that's it. And they let... Malcolm's doing his thing, but they let Angus and Bon Scott do their thing, and that's what it is. Angus's solos are that raspy, growly, what a Gibson guitar sounds like in the 70s. When it's a distinct sound. You can call it the Angus Young sound because that's what it is. There's no... I don't even think he uses any delays. I would like to see... I never even thought about it until right now. Like if he even puts anything on it, if it's just... I never hear any delay or flange or chorus or anything like that.
Maybe just straight to Marshall.
No effects. It's just straight boom in your face. At least the sound is. And that's... I mean, there's some great... The Jack, again, that always threw me because you want to hear the high voltage.
I would love to hear a live version of that, that lyrical version.
Yeah. Riff Raff is a great, again, it comes off of Powerage. But that's just a great build to start a show. High Voltage is one. A Whole Lot of Rosie, that's probably one of my favorites. And I was always a problem child fan. I always liked that my father hated that song so much. You know, we blasted it in the car. We blasted when he came home from work or something. He hated it. But it's just a rawness of a band that is really a spirit of 70s rock and roll. I mean, that's all it is. It's just rock and roll.
Speaking of rock and roll, what do you got for us,
Alrighty.
BB?
This album is like super full of energy. It builds as it goes. That opener riff raff, like it's right out of the gate. They are tight machine already. First song, like they are all in. Great opener to me. I love that riff raff song. The Jack's another great one. And kind of like you said, Reddy, I love the audience participation. They're clapping, keeping the beat for them. They they're screaming, "She's got the Jack," but it fits the song. It's great the way they work it in. I love how the Jack actually sounds live, because there are certain songs in like everybody's album. It seemed you could tell they're piping in the audience. You could tell the Jack is recorded live, no audience piped in there. Sounds great live, comes over well. Whole Lot of Rosie, another way everybody kind of talked about so far. It's such high energy. Like the crowd is screaming Angus. The solo's amazing, and Let There Be Rock. That's just another killer energy song. It's probably the best solo for me in the album. But man, just to be there at this show, like the production, it sounds so crisp. It sounds so good, and it almost like you feel like you're there sometimes. And it's a fantastic album. It's a 5-star general. If you're talking about live albums, this is definitely up there. This is a great live album.
Yeah, you talked about something that I was going to bring up about how some of the live albums that we're going to be talking about tonight, you do feel the piped inness of it, where it's just like they might be recording themselves live, but they're not really recording the audience as much. But this one, you could definitely tell the audience was there. They were really feeling it. I don't think it's like the most live sounding of all of the albums we're going to be talking about tonight, but it's definitely one of the better like produced wise,
or lack of it.
Yeah, for instance, yeah. And I also think that this is a perfect way to open a live album, and I also like how it ends as well, because it has like Let There Be Rock as kind of the finale ender, and then Rocker is kind of the bonus track, is how I picture it. So it really works for me in terms of pacing, because AC/DC doesn't really have any slow down songs except for the Jack, really. Like, they're not a ballad band, unlike some of the other albums we're going to be talking about tonight, where it's like we're going to bring it down for a little bit, break out the acoustic guitar. AC/DC does not do that. This is the live, high-energy album that you want from AC/DC. And I really resonated when you said that Bond doesn't do the banter as much. And I think it's because of his attitude. Like, his attitude is the banter, you know? And Angus's guitar work, you know, the riffs are the banter. Like, they don't need to go with the crowd, because the way that they're playing and the way that they're interacting with each other musically, I think, is kind of their way of going back and forth with the crowd, getting them into it. Because, like, Bond's just a charismatic entity. You don't have to look at him. You can just hear it. And on this live album, it captures it really well, I think. So this was a really good pick. And, that version of Whole Lot of Rosie is the version. Because I always picture it with everybody chanting Angus. That's how I pictured the intro to Whole Lot of Rosie is Angus. Like, that's just how it goes for me in my head. So good pick.
BC.
Oh, God. AC/DC, I mean, like I said, all these albums we're going to talk about tonight, with the exception of one, is pretty much grew up with. They're in your DNA from when you first start listening to the music. For me, I mean, I love live albums, because when you're from Little and Kiss days until now, I always wanted live. And then when bootlegs came out, I was always buying the bootlegs like crazy. Because you wanted to see them live, because you're going to see after shows when you're younger, because you have the money to go to show or a way to get there. But this one's classic. I mean, I can remember playing the crap out of this. The guys that got me to Kiss when I was younger, they were about 4 or 5 years older than I was. Black Sabbath. AC/DC, all these bands that we're talking about. Of course, you want to. And I can remember first time hearing this, is like that open a riff raff, straightforward. And I've been hooked. I'm a Bon Scott guy. I gotta admit to that. Nothing against the rest of it, but he brings a whole.
Not an Axl Rose guy.
Attitude.
Yeah, the attitude he brought to it was just perfect for this music. I mean, Hell Ain't a Bad Place to Be. I love that song. A Whole Lot of Rosie. This is the good one. Let There Be Rock and the Jack. I mean, there's been a few occasions.
Yeah, we had some good times with the song the Jack played.
The song the Jack played.
But the best time with the original one playing.
Yeah.
It was at Irv's.
But great pick. I mean, phenomenal.
All right. There's number one down. BB, you're up next.
All right. We're going to go back all the way to December of 1982. We're going to get out of the 78 for a while. Like we'll
Take a
we'll
break.
We'll take
come
a
back
break.
to it.
We're definitely going to come back to that. But yeah, I picked Live Evil from Black Sabbath. I just wanted to kind of go over this one because it kind of covers a lot that the band kind of goes through at this time. It's funny how these guys are actually releasing a live album the same time Ozzy releases a live album. They do a lot of the same songs, and it's disappointing that sometimes I think this is little Black Sabbath heavy, like as in the Ozzy, instead of being more heavy like in the Dio heavy, because you have your 2 albums of Heaven and Hell, you have your Mob Rules. There's some great stuff on there. You could have easily cut this album down a little bit and actually maybe just made one, but I understand you have to play the Black Sabbath. That's what the fans are there for. That's what the fans are going to buy. You got to play the hits. So I think this is a fantastic album, especially for me being a Dio fan and also a Black Sabbath fan. I actually found Dio before this album. I didn't find Dio till 1984. Is that when Last in Line came out? 84? 84, 85?
80.
Around there. 85?
Because
I think 84.
Holy Dyer's 83, right?
Yeah.
So maybe 83, 84.
84.
Yeah, because I didn't know really. I knew Black Sabbath, but I didn't know Dio Black Sabbath. I didn't know the Heaven and Hell. And going back in the catalog of the Dios, Diver Down and Holy Diver, and then it's he was in Black Sabbath. Here's Heaven and Hell. Here's Mob Rules. Here's the live album, and I love this. After the what they cover on this album is great. It's a great listen. So like I said, it was released in December 1984. It's actually recorded a couple separate times in April and in May of 1982. It is a very long 83 minutes, 27 seconds, released off the Warner Brothers label, produced by Tony Iommi and Geezer Butler, of course. And those 2 guys, of course, are also in the band. And like I said before, you have Mr. Ronnie James Dio on vocals, and then you have Vinny Appice on the drums. So just a little shake up there. But it starts off with E5150, but when you see E5150, you think of the Van Halen. But this is actually from the Mod Rubes album. It's somewhere stuck in the middle of the album, I believe. What I found out is it actually spells out evil. That's why it's E5150. There's a correct way to read it. You get the E, you get the 5, which is Roman numeral. You get the V. I is 1, and then 50 is L. So that's where your evil comes from. So they call it Evil Live. So that kind of little instrumental to start. It's probably right before these guys come on, I would assume. Then it actually opens up the show with Neon Nights from Heaven and Hell. Super heavy riff throughout this whole song. I love Dio's growly vocals. Has his signature screams in here. The solo and the outro solo are great. Song number 3 is NIB, or Nativity in Black, from the actual Black Sabbath album. So this is one of the first Ozzy songs that Dio is going to cover. I think he does a pretty good job with this one. Signature Geezer Butler bass line to start. Such a cool opening bass line. Tony Iommi's angry guitar sound is super heavy on this song, which is really, really good. I think this song for a Black Sabbath Ozzy song, I think this fits Dio's angry vocals perfectly. I think he does a really good job with this one. Then song number 4 is Children of the Sea from the album Heaven and Hell. Another great building song. A little soft vocals kind of start and it kind of goes off from there. Iommi's heavy riff is killer. The first song that the band actually wrote with Ronnie James Dio, so that's kind of cool little history with Children of the Sea. Song number 5 is Voodoo, which comes off of Mob Rule. So, if you're looking for some Dio Black Sabbath, you're in good standings here. 4 out of the 5 so far are from his 2 albums. I think this is a pretty cool deep cut for the Mob Rules album. Definitely, it's heavier than the studio version. Vinny Appice is carrying the drums on this sound. Drums are all fun. They sound crisp, really good, really loud. Love that Voodoo song. Super deep cut, like I said. Then we go to song number 6. So now we have to, of course, do the hits, BC. We got to go from the album Black Sabbath to the song Black Sabbath. A little guitar in the beginning, it kind of like a little guitar solo kind of ish. Then it kicks in with that iconic Black Sabbath riff. It's kind of slow in the first half of the song, but I think it picks up after the second verse. I think Dio gets into it. The song actually picks up a little bit. The solo in this one is amazing. It's just a really, really good song. It's one of their iconic songs. You have to do it. Song number 7 from the album Paranoid. They do War Pigs. Just like the Black Sabbath song, I like the second half a little bit better than the first half. I think Dio tries to kind of sound a little bit too much like Ozzy at times instead of just kind of making his own and kind of get out there and just, belt your screams out and really use your vocals. Sometimes it's a little bit kind of too slow that he tries to deliver this song with. But after that song picks up, he has his signature screams are in there. He's got his "Oh yeah" for righty, but it's War Pigs. It's another iconic Black Sabbath song. You have to do it. Little small drum solo at the end, which that intros right into Iron Man from Paranoid. Dio sings this more in like a Dio screaming range, where I like to hear a very more Dio Black Sabbath-ish sound to this one. The solo is mind-blowing, and I actually love this version compared to the Ozzy version. Really, really good. Then we go back to the Dio days. We're going to go song number 9 with Mob Rules from the Mob Rules album. Like I said, back to Dio, signature growl vocals like you want to hear. The band's running on all cylinders now. They sound great. This solo is fantastic. It's probably my favorite on the album. Song number 10, Heaven and Hell from, of course, Heaven and Hell. 10 songs in, Dio finally addresses the crowd. Because you all know Dio likes to talk to the crowd. He finally addresses them. And I have the original set list from this, so I would actually love to know. I'm going to see where actually Heaven and Hell fits into the original set from this one. So it's song 10. So he fits in a little crowd banter. So, but that was kind of cool because that's what you're used to. You're always ready to listen to hear Dio's little story. But this is Dio's Black Sabbath song. This is cool, slow, bluesy, distorted solo. This song is you kind of hear this song a little bit throughout this whole album after song number 10. Has a really cool extended solo. Song number 7 from Mob Rules, Sign of the Southern Cross. Absolutely love this song. Dio's soft vocals kind of start this into his signature screaming at the chorus. I love when he does the softer vocals. The chorus, he really belts out. Then it kind of goes back into a little Heaven and Hell melody, if you will. Then he break into song number 12, Paranoid, off the Paranoid album, of course. Another great version that Dio somewhat makes his own. Straightforward rocker. And then right after that solo, they go back into another Heaven and Hell melody. So they kind of wrap Heaven and Hell around those songs. Song number 13, Children of the Grave, from the Mister of Reality album. Dio's vocals on this song are absolutely fantastic, right in tune. I love the gritty distortion of Iommi's guitar at this one. There's a cool outro solo into a really cool instrumental part ending, and then that slowly actually closes out the real show. And then they do song number 14. It's Fluff. It's an instrumental off of Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. I'm just assuming this song is either there for an album filler or they just kept recording, because this is kind of where the roadies come up and clean up everybody's instrument, and everybody's kind of leaving the stage and leaving the show, and they just kind of let it play over while everybody's leaving. But definitely curious to see what everybody thinks. So, Dill, the young man, what do you got for this one, buddy?
Well, I found the background of this album pretty interesting, where the band was really not liking each other. Like Tony said that Dio was being kind of a dictator, little Hitler, he nicknamed him, and Dio was saying Tony's cocaine addiction was bad, and Vinny quit the band, so he's not fully credited on the album. He's listed under special thanks, even though he's the drummer. Just wild stuff, because you can't really tell that they're not liking each other in the recording, because they sound really good. For me, the novelty of this album is hearing Dio sing, of course, the Ozzy Black Sabbath songs, because you never hear that. Like, I love his version of NIB. I think he adds a theatricality to it that Ozzy doesn't have. I love Ozzy, and I like to say that I'm a Goldfish Black Sabbath fan, because the last version of the band is always end up being my favorite. So, like, if I listen to Ozzy Sabbath with Bill Ward, that'll be my favorite. But then if I listen to Dio Sabbath, that, because it's two different versions of the band, right. So it's kind of cool seeing that bridge where Dio's doing some of Ozzy's stuff. Because, like, when they would do Heaven and Hell later on, there was none of that. It was all just off of Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules. And did they ever do some stuff off of Dehumanizer?
Yeah. Like when they were Heaven and Hell, they did. Oh,
that's right. That's right. Dehumanizer's awesome.
They did a bunch of stuff off of Dehumanizer.
But I really, Dio's a consummate professional, but it was so weird hearing him not interact with the crowd, because I'm so used to Dio talking to the crowd and having his banter. So that was a little off-putting for me. And also hearing him so young, too. I'm not, like, a live recording. I'm so used to hearing him later on, like in the Heaven and Hell era and, like, later Dio live stuff. So this is a really interesting album for me to listen to. I mean, it's the Black Sabbath. I love Vinny's drumming. I think he has an energy that's very different from Bill Ward. Bill Ward is very solid, and he has a lot of fantastic fills. But Vinny has more of a youth to his drumming, I think, than Bill Ward does. That I like with the direction they were going with the band. I think it works a little better. But this would be the perfect album closer of Children of the Grave, which I prefer as a closer better than Paranoid, which they would do with Ozzy, which it's a good song. I don't think it's a great concert ender, but I don't like the very first track, and I don't like the very last track. I think you could throw those off, but other than that, I like this album. It's very good.
All right, Wrighty, what do you think?
All right, I remember picking this up, like you said before it came out, this pretty much the same time, within months of Speak of the Devil. And I was a Dio fan by then. I was familiar with the Rainbow stuff by then, and I didn't have Mob Rules, but I had Heaven and Hell, and it's to touch on what Dylan said. There was a lot of he said stuff going on during this, because it was said that Tony and Geezer would go in during the day and work on listening to tapes and mixing stuff, and then they said Dio and Vinny would come in later on and turn up the drums and turn up the vocals, and a lot of fighting back and forth, where that if they, and it's been said, if they literally sat down and had a conversation between the four of them, shit could have been worked out. Of course, with it being Black Sabbath, Geezer and Tony Iommi had the final say. So if you look at the cover, it says Ronnie Dio. It doesn't say Ronnie James Dio. It says Ronnie Dio on there. and then Vinny is a special guest or also
thanks.
plays special thanks below the keyboard player on there.
Wow.
So they were like, fuck you guys kind of deal. So that's like the dynamic that was going on. And like Dylan said as well, you can't tell by the music that these guys put forward. And it's also interesting, if you listen to this album, especially the one on, I'm not sure, I haven't listened to this on vinyl in a while, but you could hear it on the iTunes version. They play E5150 at the beginning, and then Neon Night starts, right? But if you listen to Mob Rules, you hear the end of that before Mob Rules starts on the iTunes version. So they were obviously using Mob Rules as an opening track at some point during this tour. Because when you listen to it on iTunes, you can hear that like that kind of rainfall kind of keyboard thing at the end, and then Mob Rules starts. So you really hear that twice on this album. So they must have been... it was recorded. It was shows from Dallas, Seattle, San Antonio. So who knows what else they may have used? But they were the Mob Rules was definitely an opening song at some point during this tour. Had to be, because that's on. You could literally hear it on this album.
And that would make sense to have that be the opening song if that's
for
the
that tour.
Yeah.
Absolutely, because it's the. And which is weird too if you look at the Mob Rules album. Like, why didn't they not open the album with Mob Rules instead of Turn on the Night? Turn on the Night's really good, but
Love that Kiss
like,
song.
yeah, but Mob Rules I think would have been a better opener. But Neon Nights, it is a perfect show opener. Fast, aggressive, crunchy guitar sound, but I'm not a huge fan of how the production as a whole ended up on this album. It's a little murky, maybe a little muffled, maybe in parts. Vinny's sound really good sometimes. Sometimes they're buried in the mix as well. Ronnie's vocals sound excellent throughout the whole album. The solo, the Neon Nights as a whole, the song is just fantastic. The solos fucking rip it up in there. NIB, the classic bass line, do 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 do, and you're right, BB. I love the oh yeah, fucking love it.
I love the way he says Lucifer.
He I think on a lot of the Ozzy songs, Ronnie does some of the Ozzy stuff justice. But what kind of gets, and I do like it in NIB, it was power. I like how he enunciates that. I think it's cool, like a gruff thing of it. But there's, and actually musically, the bass and during the solo is fucking excellent on NIB, just excellent. But Ronnie James Dio needed to stop singing and doing the shit during the musical parts of these songs. Like, let the band fucking play. There's a lot of parts
Maybe
on
that
this
was a little
album where I'm like, shut the fuck up. No, seriously. I love his vocals, but there's times where he just, like, he adds shit where he doesn't need to. I don't know, if you have nothing to do, just walk off the fucking stage while they're playing these longer songs. You know what I mean? Or
the crowd,
do the crowd, horns and shit, but you don't need to throw that extra shit in there all the time, Children of the Sea, love that song. Apparently this was the first song that Ronnie and Tony wrote together. Comes off great live. I love the you kind of get the keyboard and the choir in the background that I think comes off really live. Comes off really well live. That's a kind of like a background, just kind of fills the song in there. Voodoo BB, you were right. Love this song. Fucking fantastic. This is one as well that they carried into When They Were Heaven and Hell. Love it. I friggin' think this is a killer song. I've always loved Voodoo. The drums are fantastic. Vinny kills it. Black Sabbath. This is one thing that totally pisses me off on this album. You do not need to introduce the song Black Sabbath. You don't need to do it. You just fucking do it.
Yeah, the rain sounds.
I like the little guitar thing that Tony does in the beginning. Kind of gives it like more of an epic, like spooky kind of feel to it in the beginning. I really like that part of it. But the song needs no introduction. I think it's a huge misstep. I don't know why. It's the name of the band. It's the name of the first album, and the song Black Sabbath needs no fucking introduction. They do a great version of it though. The drums are great. I love the kick up at the end. Fantastic. And I think he does it great vocally too. That part. I like his vocals on that part. I do enjoy that one. War Pigs. Who the fuck doesn't love War Pigs? You get that slinky bass part in the beginning there. I don't mind Ronnie's singing on this one either, but on this one too, still too much babbling in between the fucking vocal parts. Just let the band let Black Sabbath be Black Sabbath. Do the Ozzy, go to the side of the stage and do your hand clapping thing. You know what I mean? Just do that. He had the fringes on his shirts also, so that fucking works out. Just like let the band fucking play. Like shut the fuck up. Geezer and Tony, like and Vinny, just go friggin' sick bananas on this one. In that solo part where they just fucking tear it up. The band is great. The part, love it as well. Killer song. I other than just that little vocal things I don't mind. Iron Man, I've always fucking hated this song, but I do like this version because they do the full version of the song. They do the at the end. When Ozzy does it, they do just the I am Iron Man blah 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 part, and then it goes into Children of the Grave. But I do like that they do the total version of this, and it definitely saves it for me. The bass is crazy in that part too. The Mob Rules, like I said, you hear that little E5150 part at the beginning, but this song just kicks it. I love the oh come on, and he really throws that out there for that one. I love it. Tony pulls off one of the most rocking solos of the concert on this song, and then you get another solo at the end. So and you know what? And I think if you listen to this song, if you go by what they said, that Tony and Geezer did stuff, and then Vinny and Ronnie did stuff, the Tony and Geezer won out on this song because the fucking bass and guitars are fucking crazy on this one. Like up high in the mix, I think it's fantastic. Heaven and Hell, this is like the epic portion of the song, the album. You get, I think it's, I did the time, it's like, comes out like 13 minutes or something like that between this and Sign of the Southern Cross. And really the way that they do this, Dio carried that over into the Dio band because he still had done Heaven and Hell, and I like it. I love the solo part where you get that echo, bow, 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 you get that echo part in it. But then when it goes to Sign of the Southern Cross, and this one is like pretty much the Children of the Sea song that is on Mob Rules. But I love when they do that. In a big white shade, look like me. I fucking love that part. Because when I saw Dio play in Philadelphia for the Last in Line tour, they did this. And it was so weird because, like, when he did that, in a great white shade, look down at me. And the light kind of stuttered down. It seemed like it stuttered down over Ronnie. And then we did when a black shade looked up at me, and it went red. And it was just such a cool part of the show. And I still get fucking chills when I hear any version of this mixture live. It's great. I love this part of the show because it showcases the Dio Sabbath to the max between these two songs. And I love the volume knob like fade in the stuff that Tony does on this, just epic between these two songs. Fantastic. Then it comes back up to the rocking part of the song at the end. Paranoid, good version, I guess. I'm not a huge fan of the song to begin with. I don't mind Ronnie's vocals in here. The solos, it's okay on this one for me. If you want the best Killer solo on this one, get the Paranoid version from Speak of the Devil with Brad Gillis playing it. Fucking tears it up. But this is good as well. And actually, it kicks to the back of the Heaven and Hell riff at the end of Paranoid on this one. Children of the Grave, good version of it. Excellent solo at the end of the concert. Not much Ronnie James scatting on this one, which I like. And Fluff, just a small acoustic piece, is exactly named perfectly because it's just fluff. But enjoyable album though, you know it is. And I've had this album a long time. I have my original vinyl of it, and I still will bust that out every now and then. There's a couple little things here and there that kind of get me and piss me off, but I like it. I love this. I love the Dio version of Black Sabbath. Because really, this was my. And I had We Sold Our Souls for Rock and Roll, so it had the pretty much greatest hits of Black Sabbath up to then. And then I got Heaven and Hell like a week later, and I was like, wow, this is the version that I like better. There's a lot of stuff I like on this double album here, but this is more of what I'm listening to now. The more the hard rock stuff, not the 70s feel of it, which I don't have no problem with the 70s feel, but it was more of a modern version of the band, and I love the Dio version. When they came out and they did, when they came out and they were Heaven and Hell, I was like, awesome. Now no offense to the Ozzy songs, Black Sabbath, but I'm like, now I'm just going to hear Dio singing songs that he was involved in and not having to do Ozzy stuff. Good pick.
Alrighty. What do you say, Coach?
That took a long time. I'm sorry.
Well, actually, I'm going to piggyback. Thank you, because now I get to piggyback off you. And as a Dio fan, I'll start with what I didn't particularly kind of what rubbed me about the album. You know what I mean? As far as even as a kid listening to it, I love Dio. You know, I love Dio. But to me, it's him venturing into Ozzy's territory and doing. I'll refer to them as their stainless steel classic songs. It would be like if I got up there or BC or Dylan got up there and sang,
you got to do them
and sang War Pigs, and they'd say, "Hey, that's all right, but it's not Ozzy."
Right.
And that's what it is to me when I listen to this.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Dio's Dio, and Ozzy's Ozzy, but I really think he lacks that craziness, that cadence, that articulation that Ozzy had when he brought those songs to be what they were. And that's it. And it to me, as great as Ozzy or as Dio is, he lacks that vibe that Ozzy has. That brings that song. And that's one thing that was. I'm like you. I'm not a fan of the ad-libbing. Oh yes,
that drives me crazy.
After something, just
what the band play,
and when I catch myself doing it myself, or I think, I don't do that. I don't want to do it. Oh,
stop being
don't be an asshole. You know what I mean? I'm not a big fan of that, and he does a lot of it, especially in the Ozzy tunes. Like he's trying to cover stuff, and even at the ad libbing at one point, I think he's like humming and singing along with the solo.
Yeah,
it's like
let Tony
come
be Tony,
on, man. So it's that kind of stuff. And one thing also is. As I was telling you before we even started, I was looking for the original version. Like I one thing I didn't hear when I was listening to the 2008 version, there's no crowd presence.
No.
And maybe they muffed it out so much they lost
that they couldn't get it back.
Some of the oomph of a live show, and that's the one thing you always miss in a live show is the oomph of
energy.
a live show.
The energy.
But as far as like those guys playing, the band itself, take Dio away from it, they are just super proficient. They are super tight, and everything they do is solid. They work together so well. There's nothing that you can't say that they did. The solo in Heaven and Hell is something that really that's truly amazing on this. Now getting to the Dio aspect of it, Dio is doing Dio tunes is just magical, and when you hear him do it live, you get to appreciate it. Even my wife was saying, who is this man? Like,
yeah, Joan.
And you really get an appreciation for the talent. I mean, Mob Rules. The Neon Nights is probably my favorite because that just kicks off Heaven and Hell. And it's the whole tone of
what it's going to be.
It was Ozzy, now it's me. And I would imagine, and I think I've said this before too, I would imagine that if you just look at Dio's track record of the wonderful guitar players and people that he worked with that he's left, he might be a little bit difficult to.
He could be.
I won't say difficult. I'll say maybe he doesn't want to give up the control, the creativity, stuff like that. But him doing those songs, Voodoo is great. I really loved Paranoid going back into Heaven and Hell. I thought that
segue is really good back in.
By surprise, and even Sign of the Southern Cross. I think I like the live version better than the album version.
Oh, it is
wonderful
because there's that extra stuff in there.
So really, other than some of the things where I'm saying, geez, Dio's not Ozzy. Just like Brian Johnson's not Bon Scott. Just like the kid who sings for Journey isn't.
Sammy Hagar is not David Lee Roth.
He's not, and they are big shoes to fill. Not that Dio didn't make his own tracks, but to point that you said earlier, when he comes and does Mob Rule and he does all the Dio songs, then they're his, and he gets to give them justice. And walk it in and be an Ozzy, that's hard to do.
Yeah, and I think you can kind of tell too. I don't know. I won't say he slacks on the Ozzy stuff, but you could tell he's like, this song is mine. And
how do you approach them?
You know,
how would you even approach them?
Yeah.
On that tour.
Do you think that they could have said, okay? I mean, I know they wouldn't do it, but because they want to be known for their Black Sabbath stuff too, their earlier stuff. But like, do an album. Say no, not even that, but just say do 5 songs from Heaven and Hell, do 5 songs from Mob Rules, put that out as a live album, mix them. You know what I mean?
Maybe
that would have been cool to do.
Great.
So then he doesn't have to be compared. But like, are the people going to not see any of them songs on there and not buy it?
Yeah, but the sound I was a little frustrated with. That it is that muffliness to it, and there's no crowd. You're not hearing the crowd, and even when he's talking to the crowd, which I'm not a fan of talking to the crowd. And getting the crowd
you don't get. Thank God you don't get a lot of it on there.
Entertain me.
Yeah. I'm paying you to play for me. Play.
And going back to your song, like the song choice aspect of it, this was their first actual sanctioned live album.
Right.
So like you really couldn't.
No, I know, because you had to have
there.
you had to have the catalog in there.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it would be cool to see a couple of deeper tracks, as a thing. But they put out the record company put out that Live at Last. I don't know if you've ever heard that.
I have not, but I would prefer it. I've been to shows in this group, Neil Young, but I went to see Neil Young. He just played the album that he did, start to finish. Like they're great. Now I'm seeing songs that you'll never see.
I saw Iron Maiden. I saw Maiden do that. It was fantastic.
Start to finish.
People were like, "What the fuck is this shit?"
I saw Live do it. I saw a handful of bands just start to. Weezer had done it on the Blue album.
Yep.
Start to finish.
They would do
that
one.
Been a
they would do
horrible
one
show.
the Blue album, the other show Pinkerton.
Oh God.
You're too old for that.
Steve's in the bathroom ODing.
Well, we saw
great
with
album.
the
I mean, it's Dio, and it's
God,
Black Sabbath. I mean, musically, it's fantastic.
Yeah, the Dio stuff on here is really good. And like I said before, like War Pigs and Black Sabbath, that first half, like you said, I love how you said he doesn't have the craziness to do War Pigs, because the first half of the song he sings so slow and so weird. You're like, you're trying to be too much, or like just kind of turn it into your own. But like after it kicks in, it's all right, But I had the same thought as you did.
It's just the vibe. That's as an Ozzy fan, thinking like that's what's. It's Dio trying to be Ozzy, not Dio being Dio.
Right.
When Dio does Dio, it's Dio.
Yep.
But he has to be Ozzy.
It's magical.
It is.
All right, BC, bring it home, buddy.
Oh God.
Could you imagine Ozzy trying to be Dio?
Oh, never.
Ooh, never. No.
He'd have just as much of a struggle.
He was.
Oh yeah.
That'd be like David Lee Roth trying to be Sammy Hagar.
Whoa. Oh,
Like, Steve's in the bathroom. He'll never know.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
No, I mean, hey, I remember this album coming out. My buddy called me up. Hey, I got the Live Evil. Walking 6 blocks in the rain. He didn't have a car back then. No Uber. So we go over and he puts it on, and you're all sitting around like, yeah. And like you said, there's so many things lacking, but musically it's great. And I could do without the first track. But hey, whatever.
Yeah.
Neon Nights, one of my favorite. NIB, love the bass line throughout there. Children of the Sea, Voodoo, one of my underground favorites that they never play enough. War Pigs, Iron Man. I don't know if it's because it's played to death.
Right.
But then hearing Ronnie do it, I think Dave touched base on it. It was there's Ozzy and Ozzy's Ozzy.
Right.
And somebody trying to do that, it can't be done. And that was definitely one of the songs that stood out. That and probably there's a War Pigs, not bad. Again, Ronnie to Ozzy.
Yeah.
Sign of Southern Cross, totally dig that out. I love that song. Paranoid, again, I'm getting kind of burned out on that song too. I don't know why.
BC wanted to hear Changes.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Dio probably would have killed that though.
Maybe.
Yeah, but I don't know. That's another song that's kind of Ozzy. There's songs that
There is
Ozzy's
that element
Ozzy, and
to
I
it,
don't
though.
care who does it. You can't do it. Children of the Grave. I mean, I think Steve touched base on that one with Brad Gillis. Brad Gillis. But again, another album we were talking about tonight just brought back so many memories of the youth. Great pick.
Walking in the Rain.
In the rain, getting soaked.
Alrighty, that's it, buddy.
That's everybody.
That's everybody. All right. So we're gonna go with Dylan next. What?
That
Oh,
was it.
sound. Okay. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? All right. Yeah, Dylan's going to wrap up the first part of the show, and he's got one for us.
Yeah, I decided to go back to 1978. Now that we've taken a break from the year, let's go back to it, and we'll stay there for the rest of the episode. I went with a double live album, aptly titled Two for the Show, by the band Kansas. A band that I never really gave a second glance until I saw them live, because you would hear Carry On Wayward Son, and you would hear Point of No Return and Dust in the Wind on the radio, and they're good songs, but you're like, okay, that's great. But then you listen to them live, and it's just a completely different ballgame. They're so heavy, they're a tight band musically, and I think this album captures that really well. It was released in October of 1978, recorded in a couple different venues, the Palladium in New York City, Pine Knob Music Theater in Clarkson, Michigan, and our M3 residence, Meriwether Post Pavilion in Columbia, Maryland. So
Been there.
yeah, we were at one of the venues. Isn't that cool? I mean, it's cool for me. I'm sure you guys are like, yeah, we've been at a lot of venues that these shows were recorded.
No, but it is
like,
cool.
it is.
It is cool to hear that you have really cool when you've been at a show that's a live album.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah.
we've had a couple actually, and it is cool to hear that it was recorded at a place that you've been to.
Yes. And it's 80 minutes, the original album, but then there's an extended version that's 148 minutes.
We didn't go with that one.
We did not make everybody listen to those.
That's too much.
Yeah, a little too long for this episode.
Even for Dave.
They released one of the songs from here, Lonely Wind. They cut out the piano part of it. There's a piano solo at the beginning, and then they put out Lonely Wind as a single. But that's really the only kind of release outside of the album for the band. But I think this is a really solid live album, but it does suffer from the quote-unquote live factor where you just hear the crowd piped up like BC just demonstrated that.
It's like a surge.
Yeah. And
goes the wave.
They're completely absent during the actual song.
Yeah, the quiet sign.
That's
They're
because
playing.
everybody's paying attention.
It's like, wow, like I could believe that everybody is so enraptured by their playing that they're just like
Crickets.
silently like but
Were you not like that when you
that's,
saw them, though?
well, that's what I mean. But I know
Right.
for this era, it's definitely not that.
I don't know.
But I think Song for America is an interesting opener. I don't know if it's what I would have picked because it's kind of eclectic to open a show. But it's still a great song. But then we go into the first kind of full hit that a lot of people know, Point of No Return. Fantastically done live. I really love it. I'm not going to go through every track here, but some of the key points that I really liked was Portrait He Knew is a fantastic song. And then they go right into Carry On Wayward Son, a really smooth transition that you could only capture in a live setting. And I believe they actually did something like that when we saw them. They did a transition right into Carry On, which was really, really cool. Side 2 is fantastic because it has Portrait He Knew, Carry On Wayward Son, and then Journey from Mariobron, which is a really cool first album track. And that's just like with Dio, that's like the first time he really addresses the crowd. It's like, hey, we're going to play a song from our first album. We'll see if anybody remembers it, kind of thing. And then side 3, we go to our cool down factor with Dust in the Wind, and then Lonely Wind. But then we pick it up with Mysteries and Mayhem, which is really cool. And then from there on, it's really a heavy thing, especially Magnum Opus. Magnum Opus has one of the coolest solos that we're going to talk about tonight. It's so heavy. It's worth all 11 minutes of it. Fantastic way to end the album. I think it's my favorite album closer of everybody's tonight. Not to toot my own horn, but it's like you're just blown away by their musicianship, and they're so tight as a band, doing all these different time changes, and you have a violinist coming in. Like, what hard rock band comes in with violin? You don't hear that. It's such an interesting, different way to spice up the music. The violin and keyboards and the guitar work. It's just they're fantastic. And the personnel on it, of course, you got Steve Walsh on keyboards and vocals, Robbie Steinhardt on violins and vocals, Kerry Livgren guitars and keyboards, Rich Williams on guitars, Dave Hope on bass, and then Phil Ahart on drums. But it's a tight band. They're just in the pocket, and just like with AC/DC, like you could tell that they get into a jamming zone, and they're just firing on all cylinders. It's a really great showcase of them live, and it shows that they're more than just Dust in the Wind. They're more than just Carry On Wayward Son. Those are fantastic songs, but songs like Magnum Opus or Portrait He Knew really showcase how the band is very progressive with their music. You don't get that with Dust in the Wind because it's a ballad, and they're like Dust in the Wind does showcase how good they are vocally live as well. They have really good harmonies, and I just think it was a really fantastic album for me to bring to the table. Dave, I know you're the resident Kansas head here at the table. What did you think?
I love it, but I will have to. I'll kind of precursor with. I could actually go see a Kansas show 1,000 times and not have to hear "Carry On Wayward Son" or "Dust in the Wind" because they are not the great tunes. It showcases their first 5 albums, right? You got Kansas, you got "Song for America," you got "Mask," "Leftoverture," and "Point of No Return." So that's what jumps out at this album is really the appreciation for the work that these guys are doing. It's not you could just chug away on an A there for a second here. They're doing significant time signature changes and chord changes throughout this. You're talking every song is 6 to 10 minutes long, and they're significant chord changes, and it's not easy. Rich Williams is masterful on his guitar. We saw him live. He's just wonderful. Eye patch and everything. He just kicks ass. He's great. Kerry Livgren does a lot of nice things. He writes the tunes, but Rich Williams is just fantastic. So is Robbie Steinhardt. I mean, he's the one that addresses the crowd, really, a lot of the times. Steve Walsh, I always tell my wife, he's not singing. He's singing and playing keyboards, too. All that piano work is Steve Walsh. For a guy from Georgia, he just brings it. I mean, that's the thing. Their tightness is just nothing short of amazing and a testament to this. Magnum opus again at the end. I'll save that all the other stuff. I mean, Howlin' at the Moon. If you don't like Howlin' at the Moon, if that doesn't get to you, there's something the matter with you. It's just a tremendous album. It's just a tremendous piece of work on all of these songs. The Wall. I would even say Lonely Wind. I know Buddy that wants it played at his funeral. But Portrait, Icarus, Born on Wings of Steel.
That's great too.
But in all of these songs that are so long, there's no shortchanging. There's no copping out. Steve Walsh hits every note. He's bringing it, and that's the thing that makes them. And they're a powerful band. And I wish they were more recognized than they are, because they are. When you see them live, boy, you appreciate it. I remember when we saw, you guys probably saw them at the same venue. I leaned over to my daughter, which I took her. I said, "You're going to see Kansas." And I leaned over and I said, "You're listening to fucking Dust in the Wind." You're getting to hear it. It's a song for the ages, and you're hearing it live. So she was a kid, and I said, "Enjoy it."
Yeah.
Because it's something you won't get back. But great album, great pick.
BB, I know you're a resident progressive rock fan. What did you?
Dylan,
What did you think of this one?
I will have to say, out of these 5 albums we talk about tonight, this album is the only one I own on vinyl.
Wow, really?
How about that?
That's interesting.
How about that?
Huh. Never would have guessed.
I love this album. I think this is great. This is that BB side that you just want to listen to some. You don't want to listen to like shredding and drum beats. Like you just want to listen to like musicians play and play really good.
Yeah.
This is what I go to. And of course the hits. Point of No Return. I think that really transitions well live. Carry On My Wayward Son. It seems like it's played like a half beat faster than like the studio version, which was cool. And that acoustic version of Dust in the Wind. Great rendition. And I think it's hilarious. In the middle of like the little bit of acoustic and violin playing, that's when they pipe in the audience screaming and whistling. You're like,
where were you?
Really? Now you're going to throw that in there? But Portrait, I love Portrait. The keyboard and violin back and forth at the beginning is really, really cool. It had a really nice beat throughout the whole song. There's a little bit of heavier guitar soloing in there. The outro keyboard and the guitar is really, really cool. And it's a little bit heavy. I love that one. But my favorite one is nobody's talked about yet. Is Mysteries and Mayhem. It has that galloping beat between the violin, the keyboard, and the drum, and the guitar. All 4 of them making like amazing music together. I think this is a really underrated 70s live album. I think it's a really, really good pick.
Wow.
Surprise, surprise.
Dad, did you also think it was a good pick?
I thought it was a fantastic pick, and I've said it before, I will say it again. Dave, thank you for pushing me to check these guys out. And I was in the same boat. I said to Dylan and BB had something going on. He couldn't go. I said, we're going to see Kansas. So we went down the Sands. It was Sands at the time. It's Wind Creek or some other fucking name now. And we sat there. There were times the three of us looking at each other going, holy fuck, is this fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Like, totally unexpected heaviness. Like, I did not expect how heavy Kansas could be. Like,
Kansas
for
make
a
me
self-proclaimed,
Whoa!
like, wow, fucking metalhead, we were like, holy fuck. Song for America, I'm kind of with Dylan, like, kind of an odd opening thing. The very beginning reminds me of YYZ from Rush. But the violin's got some cool harmonies going there. Point of No Return, we know that one is pretty much a staple of classic rock radio. Paradox, absolutely love this one. This was one of the standout tracks when we saw them that I remembered. I'm like, this is great. Da-da, da-da. It's got a great cadence. The verses upbeat. The drums are great there. There's a breakdown in the middle that builds back into the song with a great solo at the end. Icarus Wings of Steel, just a great song. Like back and forth guitar and violin on that. I love the interplay between the various factions of the band and a lot of these songs, between the guitars and the violins and the guitars and the keyboards and the guitars or the violins and the keyboards, and sometimes you get all three going back and forth throughout various songs. I like it. Portrait, always a favorite of mine. This is another standout track from this album and from when we saw them. Musically, it's got a very Styx-like feel to me. The drum beat starts, it's got a build. Another one that the cadence and the verses is fantastic. The guitar's very heavy there. Blazing solo behind it. Great drumming on this one. Massive, and there's a massive fucking tempo shift in this song that rocks, and the guitars rip. The band just kills it here. Like if you want heavy Kansas, play the song Portrait. Seriously, put it in there. Make sure this is in the Spotify playlist, because this song is fucking fantastic. Carry On My Wayward Son. Who doesn't know that song? Who doesn't love that song? Covered by everybody. Two of my favorite versions, Stryper and fucking Anthrax. Two fantastic versions of it. Journey from Marylebone, second longest song on the album. Tons of tempo changes, just fucking fantastic. Dust in the Wind. You're my boy, Blue. How does not anyone said that yet?
Well, because
you're my boy, Blue.
I knew you were going to.
Great song. You know, that's another one everybody knows. Lonely as the Wind. Another very Styx-like feel for me. And then like Mysteries of Mayhem, excerpt from Lamplight Symphony, and The Wall. They're like a trifecta. Each song kind of runs right into another, and it's like, this is magnum opus, these three songs, part 2. I think these songs showcase every single cool thing about Kansas in these three songs. Boom, 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 back and forth. There's shredding solos, there's chugging guitars, there's great violin harmonies, there's awesome keyboards, there's awesome synth, drums are fantastic in it. Those three songs, and then magnum opus, so the last part of the, I think it's like most of side 3 and side 4, which would be on a vinyl, like amazing. If you want to say hard prog rock, play these 4 songs in a row: Mysteries of Mayhem, excerpt from the Lamplight Symphony, The Wall, and magnum opus. Fucking just unbelievable musicmanship in here. Vocally, musically, guitar, drums, violin, synth, every full bass, full fucking package. And magnum opus qualifies definitely BB as one of your roller coaster songs. Oh, yeah. Just the song ends with just a rock out fucking part. Perfect. Great pick, Don.
Thank you. BC, take us home.
This is the only album I've never heard of until now.
I figured that this is the one.
I'm thinking of all the ones here. I'm like, there's one. Here it is. But I can remember, I don't know how long ago that was. We went down to see him.
It's got to be 5 years ago.
It's got to be
easily.
Probably more than that. Time flies.
That was 16 or 17.
I know it was. Yeah. It was right after we started the podcast, because I remember we were talking about it in one of our early episodes.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to see Kansas. I'm like, all right. I don't give a shit. Sure.
I had a wardrobe malfunction that night. Remember, my belt broke. I had to go back out to the car.
But I can remember, and they come out, and it's like, okay, these guys are doing good, and all of a sudden, like you said, there's a few times me and him looked at each other like. The one part, what's on? I can't remember. I'm drawing a blank. It's on double bass. The guys, we're like,
yep.
Are we at a Kansas show? Because
you're not in Kansas anymore, BC.
It's not what we expected.
No, I mean,
it wasn't.
what I knew of Kansas from my youth, I mean, I was younger. I would never imagine them being the depth of their music that there is. I mean, and I put this right on my iPod. I just get them mixed up. I'm going to listen to this a lot more. I mean, this is the one that, I mean, I knew the others, of course. So it might not be fair to say. But all these songs, and like the later, the second half of life, I think there's just something you like. A few times I caught myself like,
Yep.
you know what I mean? And I love when that happens because that don't happen too often anymore. But it did a few times listening to this album, and I will definitely another one that Dylan's I would delve into more.
Awesome.
Good pick.
Thank you.
All right, there's our albums there. We have AC/DC, If You Want Blood, You Got It from myself. We have Black Sabbath, Live Evil from BB. From the Soul album, not from 1978, from 1982 for BB. Black Sabbath, Live Evil. And we have Kansas 2 for the Show from Dylan. And we're going to keep the classic rock live album theme going here. We're going to play a little Tom Petty, Running Down a Dream.
Going wherever
All right, welcome back. Hope you guys enjoyed some little live Tom Petty there. We're going to skip our hidden gems today due to each of us are doing a live album. Sorry, Dave, did you have a good one? Do you still want to do yours?
No, I didn't. Okay. I had a good one, though.
Okay.
I'll actually...
Save it for the Blood Boys to call one.
I'll sum up.
All right. So we're going to get right back into the albums. And Dave, you're going to be up next, my friend. What do you got for us?
Fantastic. Well, I have an album by from our favorite year here, 1978, Scorpions, Tokyo Tapes. And where do I begin with Scorpions, Tokyo Tapes? To not go long-winded here. To me, especially being a high school kid and listening to live albums, there's two Scorpions. There's Rock You Like a Hurricane Scorpions, and people who think they know who the Scorpions are, and then there's Tokyo Tape Scorpions. And they're two different bands to me. Mm-hmm. But to me, as a young person listening to music, Tokyo Tapes, because I was introduced to Scorpions with Love Drive, and that's where we found it in probably 80, maybe 80, 81. There was Love Drive, Animal Magnetism, and Blackout comes out in 81. And all of a sudden you hear Tokyo Tapes. Where the frick are these songs coming from? Because none of these albums were available in the U.S. You couldn't find them. And that was the beautiful thing of half of these songs you never heard of. And when you were trying to find somebody to relate to in high school or something like that, of who else was a Scorpions fan, you had nobody to relate to.
We didn't talk much in high school. We did not.
Not about
music. No, it was sports. It was baseball.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like there's, and they're really great. Like to me, it's almost it's their time in the minors, if you will, because that's where they get commercial success then afterwards. But they're a great band, and that's the thing. They're writing songs with Uli Roth, he's tremendous, and that's actually my hidden gem. I'll come back to that in a second. But and this is a great culmination of those efforts, and to me, it's always been a shame that they're not more recognized. But that's a lot of really deep Scorpion fans. It's Tokyo Tapes that brought them, like myself, that kind of brought the Scorpions into who you are. And half of these songs, if you said, Backstage Queen, you know who sings that song? What the fuck are you talking about? They have no idea.
They think it was like a Motley Crue song or something.
And it's really a shame. I think Uli Roth, I just was, a couple weeks ago, was watching an interview with him that he gave in 2019. And I think he was the only one that really spoke English at the time. And I think Herman Rarebell, because he joins the band on this tour, he actually joins for Taken by Force, which is the album that I believe that this tour comes after. He replaces Rudy Lenners, but these guys, he was living in Birmingham, I think, England. So these guys didn't speak English, and it's still very Klaus Meine is very broken English as he's talking to the crowd, and he still was even in '84 when I saw them. Very broken. He speaks very good English now, but back then, I mean, these guys formed, if you think about it, in '65. And this album's in '78. They started, Lonesome Crow comes out, I believe, in '72, and that's a great, again, it's a culmination of 5 albums here coming into this, and there's some really, really super tracks. It's some of Uli Roth's last gigs because he leaves after this, and All Night Long, which opens up with, which is a great. It's kind of a rarity because it wasn't a song that they put on an album. They used it as a live thing that they did on the Entrance tour and I believe Virgin Killer tour in '76, and then it makes it onto an album that I don't believe ever makes it to the States with just like 4 songs on it. But it's not like on an album. You can't find it anywhere. But there's some really great Polar Nights, Pictured Life, Backstage Queen, all off of Virgin Killer, and that's a lot of Uli Roth stuff. He's not a great singer. There, I've said it.
He's not.
His stuff is, but I was a big Entrance fan. Top of the Bill, Dark Lady, just Entrance. It's a slower song, but it's the solo work and it's the tightness, and it's really Francis Bouchot's on the bass. It's holding it there. He's a woman, she's a man. Suspender Love, and my brother Mark's favorite song when we were kids, We'll Burn the Sky, off of Taken by Force. That's a great song. It's a long song, but all of Uli Roth's lead work on this album is just tremendous. He's got a completely different tone. He's got a completely different sound. They have a completely different sound than they do when Love Drive comes out, and then Animal Magnetism and Blackout come out. It's a completely different band, and it's, you know, unfortunately he leaves when they get commercially successful, but, you know, In Search of the Peace of Mind, which is it's a nice ballad. They're written by Michael Scheicher, as a matter of fact, our UFO man, Rudolph's brother, and just man, if you have a beer and it's just quiet at night, off of In Search of the Peace of Mind, his solo on that album is just great, in Tokyo Tapes, and then you know, Fly to the Rainbow, and Speedy's Coming, which is another great one. Off of Fly to the Rainbow, said album, and then they do some covers, Hound Dog, and was it Kim
Long Tall Sally,
Long Tall Sally as well, which are just it's very interesting. I was watching that same interview with Uli Roth, and he said that like they made it onto the album by accident. There were way more better songs, and it was just the producers who chose to do that. And also I heard on the same interview, which I was kind of disappointed about, was they over, kind of like how we were talking about how Live Evil was kind of mastered poorly, and they actually piped in some of the backup crowd from Frampton Comes Alive.
Oh, really?
Into that.
Oh, shit.
That's what he said in an interview in like 2019. And I thought, son of a gun.
But
to me, it was an introduction to a new world, because there were these Scorpions that I was getting into, and then it was these old Scorpion songs. And one thing that this podcast did was it made me go back, and if you go back and just listen to Taken by Force and Fly to the Rainbow, they're these really interesting songs, because they're German guys, and they never get their due, but they're writing really, really good songs. And as a teenage kid, it was fantastic. I was thinking about in Fly to the Rainbow, there's that double guitar solo that they're doing live on the album. That song's written in '74. When I think of like double guitar, I think Iron Maiden stuff. These guys were doing that in '74. Mm-hmm. It's kind of ahead of their time. So that, and when I saw them, it was the Love at First Sting tour at '84. I was really wishing they were doing those. That's what I was going to see, and then we just had guys that wanted to hear,
Bad Boys Run Wild,
Big City Nights, stuff like that.
I love that song, though.
And I love Matthias Shams. He's great. But I like the old Scorpion. Like I like the old stuff. I think it's
two
really
different
good.
bands.
I think so, and that's my thing. My hidden gem, Uli Roth in 2016 redoes it.
I know.
He redoes the album. It's Tokyo Tapes Revisited, and he's got, who's singing? Nathan James? Is that who's singing it? I have the whole band, but I think it's not Klaus Meine. He doesn't. But
No.
I think he's sang with Inglorious is the band that he's with, and he also
Nathan,
sang with Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
He's the singer in Iconic now.
Iconic,
Yeah.
Different, and I actually said it to my brother last night. I said, "Dude, you gotta listen to this, because it's Uli Roth stuff. He writes a lot of it, and it's just a tremendous live album. I think, because it's them, it's raw Scorpions, and it's the foundation of who they become.
Yeah, Tokyo Tapes Revisited.
I believe it's recorded in 15. I think it's released in
2016. It came out.
But if you get an opportunity, just give it. You can find it on
great.
YouTube. I don't think you can find it.
And he also does Scorpions Revisited from 2015.
Ooh.
And there's the track listing for it there.
Oh. See, great songs too. Virgin Killer, yikes. That album was banned. I know. In the US.
The cover was.
The album
cover was,
banned.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You can't find it.
I can see why.
You can't find it.
You'll probably pay
Probably
big
$300,
bucks to
right?
get that. Because actually now even the original Animal Magnetism cover
And Love
with
Drive.
the gum and Love Drive with the gum. Yeah. Because when they
Can't find
first
that
sold
either.
that was sold with a cover on it.
I think we had that. My brother Mark had that on vinyl.
Yep. And you had to take it out of that sleeve to see the actual album cover. Yeah.
Great stuff, but even good songwriting. Like the songwriting back then on the older songs, is markedly different than it is. It's more commercial. It's more sexual. It's more. There's not. I mean, there is that undertone, but it not as much as there was on the newer stuff.
Right.
So to me, it's that's my roots in Scorpions. I mean, that's. I'll probably go home tonight and listen to Lonesome Crow.
There you go.
I'm driving to work tomorrow. I'll listen to Lonesome Crow.
All right.
Go ahead.
I may have to hand in my podcast card when I say this, but I've never heard this album before. And why is just the reason you said it. I am that Scorpions from Love Drive to Crazy World. I'm from 80 to 90.
He's not a Rock Believer fan.
I did not.
You don't believe in rock?
I didn't. Never heard. Never knew. And it's pretty much because nobody in my group was a Scorpion fans until Rock You Like a Hurricane comes out. Oh no, they were Scorpion fans. Oh yeah, here's his album. Like, because I think this is where the age thing comes in with us. Never knew this album existed. Never knew there was albums before this. Never knew there was really albums before Love Drive.
If somebody said to me, "Rock You Like a Hurricane," isn't that a great song? I'd say, "Get the go
Exactly.
Get out of here." No, it's not.
Because
It's
I'm
not
going to go
Scorpions.
word for word what you said, and I have it
not.
written here. This album is way before its time. This album is mind blowing. If I
Both
can't
Germans are
believe,
good guitar players.
like are the songs like the 5 albums before this that heavy, or are they just amazing live?
No, they're that good.
Are they?
Yes.
All right. Because
I would have to say.
I said this album is I can't believe this came out in '78 because some of these songs you could be released now, for sure. Backstage Queen, the dual guitars, Klaus's vocals are great. The out front drums, I'm already blown away. In Trance, great building song. And this is one of my notes. Even though this is somewhat a little bit of a slower song, could still be released today. And it has a really cool dual outro solo. Polar Nights. There's some cool palm mutes parts in there. Once again, back and forth, amazing guitar work. But maybe Uli should just stick to playing instead of singing. We'll Burn the Sky. This is the song that stuck to me because that sounds what is soon to be like the 80s Scorpions.
You've seen them play that live.
Oh yeah?
Uh-huh.
This song, I love this song.
Remember the show? It was Whitesnake, Scorpions, and Dokken down at Wachovia.
Arena?
Down at Wachovia. They played "We'll Burn the Sky" that night.
Okay.
Yeah.
But man, this screams 80s Scorpions.
They busted that out.
I loved it. This is my favorite song on the album. You have like the soft verses, but the loud chorus. Like I'm sucked in already. He's a woman, she's a man. I think that's hilarious. But it has a great groove and a beat. Different style how Klaus kind of sings in it. It's like a different tone than the rest of the songs on the album. Like I said, I never heard this album before, but it fucking blew me away. Like if you gave me this album now and said, "Hey, the Scorpions just released a live album," I would believe it would have been like within the last 10 years. Fucking blown away.
I'm glad.
Thanks, Doctor. Good job.
You should have called me in high school.
I was 6 when this came out. I didn't even know my own phone number. Go ahead, BC. What'd you think?
I'll tell you what, Dave. This is a funny story. Again, all these albums are bringing me back in time. I had a friend back in the day. It's funny. I think he drove a 1978 Chevy pickup.
Of course it did.
So I didn't have a license, and he was probably 2 years older than I was. So he goes, "Come on." He had this truck. His brother had it, so he'd take the truck all the time. And this guy he didn't listen to anybody else but Scorpions. So I'm like Kiss, Van Halen, Crew at the time, all these other bands, and he's just like Scorpions. He didn't know of any other band, Scorpions. We drive around drinking some beers in his truck, and Scorpions. And I can remember he would put this on and be like, I'm just sitting there like, I'm not going to say where I was at the time in my life. But listen to it now. Again, it's falling in the category of Kansas. I'm listening to this and it's like, damn. But back then, I remember throwing it in, I was kind of like,
I want Vince Neil back.
Because they're not radio songs. That's
No,
the thing,
fuck
they're
no.
not
No,
radio
fuck
songs.
no.
but back then it was
All that shit was starting to go big.
It was
Yeah.
the new Scorpions, not
Yeah.
the Scorpions,
Yeah.
it was the newer Scorpions, and that's what and he put this in. I'm like he had Love Drive, everything else. They throw this in, I'd be like, you're trying to listen to it bouncing down the road, but listen to it now, really. I gotta go. Backstage Queens was a standout. Speedy's Coming, Polar Nights, Top of the Bill, and Hound Dog. I even like that as a cover. Anyway,
It's better than Cruise Jailhouse Rock.
you got the job.
I think you got the fucking job.
But I have to delve into this more. Like you said, it's not like you said. Scorpions to you was this,
Right.
and it was to me too, at the time. Very good, but totally different.
Yeah.
What'd you think, Reddy?
What did I think? I think this was the first Scorpions album I ever bought.
Wow.
Blackout came out in '82, so that was when I was starting to, between '81, '82, I started to branch away from Kiss and listen to Crew and Ozzy and Scorpions. '82, Blackout came out. I had heard some stuff, but I didn't have any albums. And that was one of them times where, you know what, I heard I had heard the song No One Like You, and then I saw the album at Ralph's Record City. I bought this, and I'm like, oh, that's cool, Scorpions. I know the name, so let's see what they got. And took it home, put it on, and I had really no expectations other than have heard No One Like You before, which was not even close to this, which. Honestly, I don't even like No One Like You, but even at that time, I kind of figured after listening to other bands that the song that you hear on the radio is not going to be their best song. So they're going to have stuff on the albums that are going to be way better than the shit that they put on the radio. So I'm like, oh, well, God, if they got a live album out so I could hear all their other cool shit, which totally different. I'm like, there's got to be. This is different. This is not that. This is not that. All Night Long, and I didn't know until you said, Dave, that this wasn't an album track. I'm not totally familiar with the albums per se as they went. Like pretty much just this. And I remember, and I do remember when we were in high school, you telling me to listen to Lonesome Crow. I do remember you telling me that. And honestly, to this day, Dave, I still have not listened to that.
I also told him to listen to Radiohead too, just for the record.
Yeah.
That would still
Will not do it. We'll not give him
still-
a chance.
Hey, I went for Tool, okay? You got to give me a break at some point.
And I hope you're happy.
I am. Oh, my God. Fear Inoculum. I can't get enough of it, by the way. And they just re-released that on vinyl, too, so which is crazy. All Night Long, great. Pictured Life, love it. Backstage Queen, In Trance. Not a favorite for me, but that was one that they would bust out in like the late 80s, 90s. They would bust that one out as well. Polar Nights, absolutely love it. But I'll tell you what, and like I've said it before, if I can get over Amon Amarth's vocals, I can fucking do Yuli John Roth standing on my fucking head vocally. But this song musically is fucking absolutely amazing. The soloing is fucking kick ass, but the band in the background is just crazy on that one. We'll Burn the Sky. Like I said, BB, we did see that one live, and that was Whitesnake version with Doug Aldrich. Crazy. Remember Crying in the Rain that night? We were like, holy fuck, that was that show. Suspender Love, that one's kind of a forgettable one for me. The solo's good in it. In Search of Peace of Mind, that's a skipper for me, Dave.
It's a slow song. It's one of those.
It
they don't
is.
do a lot of
It
ballads,
is.
but well, actually, they do.
Yeah.
But
And I always thought that Fly to the Rainbow was one of those songs for me. But in when I was listening to it again, getting prepared for this episode, I really think that since the last 5 or 6 years, or maybe even 10 years, since I've been delving into more of the older Rush stuff, I really appreciate this song now. There's definite elements of 2112 on on Flight of the Rainbow.
Joe Pavlone and I used to go out when we go out, cruising and boozing, and you go out, and he would have an argument. Who's the better band, Rush or Scorpions in the 70s? And he had a leg to stand on because he had Fly By Night, and I had no hits.
Right.
So I would always lose.
Right. But there are elements of Rush in Flight of the Rainbow. I get 2112 all over that song. Spacey guitar things, a lot of swirling feedback and shit like that. And actually, if you listen to the end of Flight of the Rainbow, there's a lot of crazy feedback and shit like that. Listen to the Steeler album with Yngwie Malmsteen. That is the end of that stuff. Where it's crazy, like really reverb, fade out shit.
Well,
that's
about the Uli
from
Roth,
Steeler.
The Tokyo Tape Revisited is he's playing it live. It's not studio. You can watch it on YouTube. And just his solo work and the feedback that he's getting is just so effortless. It's just unbelievable.
And we got boned because he was supposed to be one of the opening guys for Yngwie when he did the Guitar Gods tour.
That's right.
And he something got fucked up with his visa or something like that. Yeah. Well, I don't know if that's true, but that's what they were putting out. He was supposed to be one of the guys on that tour, and he ended up not playing. And we just had a torturous fucking night that night. We should have seen that as an obit. We just had a torturous fucking night that night.
We should have seen that as
He's a Woman, She's a Man. Fun Scorpion song. Musically fantastic. Fun song. Funny song. It's fucking awesome. Speedy's Coming. Fantastic. Top of the bill. Great. And the drums, there's a drum solo on Top of the Bill. And I'm not a huge drum solo guy, but it's actually a pretty fun drum solo. There's a lot of like there's some catchy stuff in there that I thought was actually pretty cool. More and like you guys know solo. I am not a fucking drum solo guy. Hound Dog, Long Tall Sally, Steam Rock Fever. I like that one. It's got some good ride cymbal in there for BC. Dark Lady, another Uli vocal. The song's fantastic though. The song is fucking great. Just like stop singing. That's like stop singing. Kojo no Tsuki.
Yep. That's the
Japanese folk song. It's I mean you're in Japan. You gotta please Japanese people. Robot Man, very cool.
He said they learned that like in rehearsal.
Oh really?
He said Klaus hummed the melody and he said I figured it right out. He went with it.
I think they did great at it. I do.
Because they were big in Japan.
Yeah.
Still are.
Robot Man, very cool. Good ending song. Fun live album. Couple duds on there for me. But like my standouts are Absolutely Polar Nights, Dark Lady, the Uli stuff, except vocally, and Flight of the Rainbow. But I think it really, if I hadn't gotten into Rush as much as I am now, I would not have appreciated that song as much as I do now. And I don't think anybody said it, but the production is fucking fantastic on this album.
Yeah, good.
You could hear everything crisply. Drums, you can hear one guitar in one ear, the other guitar in the other ear. Everything else is pretty much in the middle, but great production on it. I think. And who produced that? Let me see. Dieter Dierks produced that.
He's always been doing their production.
He's done them. Yeah. He's done. He's the German guy. Did the German bands. He did. I want to say he did Dierks. Breaking the Chains from Dokken. I think he may have done as well. So he's great album. I have only a couple songs I would skip on there, but a fantastic album.
I remember hearing that, just hearing All Night Long, and you're listening to it, and you never heard it before, and yet I have all the albums. Why haven't I heard this before? And it's just this punch in the face song.
I like that element of it. I didn't know that. Song. Great starter. I mean, All Night Long. You're gonna, it's a great title to start a show.
And it's a very raw Klaus Meine.
Yeah,
it's very raw, and that's all they did was tour. You know what I mean? So that's
Road Dogs.
Yeah. Yeah, this like BB. This was kind of my crash course in early Scorpions because growing up when I did, all you ever heard was "Rock You Like a Hurricane," "No One Like You." Those were all over the radio, and they were on Guitar Hero, and there was no real way for me to hear anything other than that. So I just kind of grew up not knowing it was there. But this was a really cool album, I think, that to get into that. I only have one problem with it, and it's Uli John Roth's vocals. Brutal. You talk about you can handle the amount of Marth vocals, but he's actually good at those vocals is the thing. He has skill at those vocals. Uli John Roth has no skill. had
He
vocals.
sounds like he's got a wad of Red Man.
Yeah,
And he swallowed it.
I understand wanting to give Klaus a little bit of a break, but like make it an instrumental. I don't need to hear your vocals. Your
play
guitar
the
playing
guitar.
is more than enough.
Don't
You're
listen
fantastic.
to Hellcat. I think Hellcat's off of Entrance. Not good.
He's just not good.
Great song.
There's no tune to it. It sounds like they brought somebody up on stage to sing and they had one too many. You know, that's how it sounds.
You're
to
singing.
me.
Get up here.
But that's my own. That is my.
And it wasn't
only
Miles
problem.
Kennedy being pulled out of the crowd either
Yeah,
for
it's not
Steel
the
Dragon.
God of thunder. No, that's the only problem I have with this album is those god awful vocals. But otherwise, it's a really cool, especially since I didn't really know any of these songs, so it was a discovery of sorts as well, which also adds to the enjoyment factor for me listening to new stuff. So it was a really cool pick. I just wish that Uli John Roth sticks to guitar.
I believe he has.
Yes.
We got everybody in that one, right?
Yes,
Yep,
sir.
that's everyone.
All right, BC, bring it home, baby. Bring it home.
I'm going to go all the way back to October 1978. But, when you said, come up with a classic rock album. So I went back and there's the norm ones you would pick. So I went off, not really off the scale, but I went Aerosmith Live Bootleg from 1978, produced by Jack Douglas. 75 minutes long, 39 seconds. And, it's a bunch of live material, mainly taken from shows from between 77 and 78. There's 2 songs that were on from a show in Boston from 73 to finish off the album. They put this out kind of to make fun of bootlegs, I guess. It's from all the way from when they put their album cover, they did list tracks and everything, because back in the 70s, bootlegs were a big thing. But anyways, I mean, they do a cover of the Beatles, which back when I was never listening to Beatles. When I was a kid, and then hearing Aerosmith, I didn't know it was a Beatles song. I will confess. But I picked this because it's very raw. I mean, and they did that on purpose, which I think it's great. I like more rawness, less polish, and like you said, don't pipe in a lot of things. Just fucking. But for musically, this is great. Celis is really good. I mean, he opens up with Back in the Saddle, which not bad. I mean, it sounds grown to me. Sweet Emotion has always been one of my favorite songs. Lord of the Thighs, Toys in Attic, another classic album from these guys. Last Child, they did the cover of Come Together. They do Walk This Way. This is before... Who did it with them?
Run DMC.
Run DMC.
Yep.
Before they got together and did this, so they were here this night. Sick as a Dog, another song of mine I just love. And this song gets a lot of shit. The next one, Dream On. I mean, a lot of people, it's played to death. I mean, it is, but I can. That's one of the Aerosmith songs I can always listen over and over, no matter how many times it's played. Don't ask me why. Chip Away at the Stone, just another killer rock track. Mama Kid, not Guns N' Roses doing it, but
This one's for your fucking mother.
this one's for your fucking mother. Sight for Sore Eyes. I just got these backwards. Sorry for that, people. SOS. And then, these last ones I wasn't too familiar with. I Ain't Got You and Mother Popcorn. They finish off with the cover of the Train Kept a Rolling, which I love that song no matter who does it. And they throw in a little musical medley of Stranger in the Night, which, whatever, but just keep it the train kept rolling. That would have been a better way to just finish off this show. I mean, back then, this is Aerosmith to me. I mean, I think Permanent Vacation was their last good Aerosmith album. Then they started. They were looking for the hits. Songs are all based like trying to be radio and hits, and that's when Aerosmith lost me after Permanent Vacation. But this is definitely a great raw live album. BB.
Yeah, this album is definitely, young, raw, Aerosmith,
Not the fifth.
and this is the Aerosmith I like. Like any of these songs, they could still pull out and play now, and everybody go crazy because this is almost like a greatest hits live album. Sweet Emotion has some cool talk box in there. Lord of the Thighs is my favorite Aerosmith song ever. I love that song. It just has like that cool guitar work. There's such emotion. Steven sings with that. Within Joe Perry and Brad Whitford goes back and forth in their dual solo. It's just freaking killer. Steven does a little scat in there, which is really, really neat. And that come together, they put a little piano in there. So that, there's a different element there. Walk This Way, more talk box. The drums are out front. Mama Kin, another classic from their debut album. There's so many like certain parts that like Joey Kramer does like drum fills in that song compared to the studio version, which are just so cool. And that's like stuff you're kind of listening to when you want from a live album. Like, ooh, wow, that's a little bit different. That's like an ear grabber. SOS, the solo in that is so cool. One of my favorites on the album. Like I said, this is classic Aerosmith, front to back. This is just rock and roll at its finest. No skippers for me. Very, very good.
Dylan.
Yeah, like I had been hinting at, this is the album that definitely sounds the most live, and that was for a reason. They were trying to give it that bootleg sound, and I think they succeeded at that for sure. It took me a while to like this album because of that, because I was a little thrown off by the sound of it, because I wasn't used to hearing a live album that like raw and like not as polished, but I've come to appreciate that aspect of it because it sounds like you're actually having somebody at the venue put their tape recorder up and record the band, and I think it really works. And Back in the Saddle is a fantastic opener. I love that they throw in kind of underrated songs like Sick as a Dog. Like you could have put in a lot of songs from Rocks, but Sick as a Dog is one of the ones that you don't normally think of when you listen to that album, but really good choice, I thought. I love Chip Away the Stone. That was a single. Yeah, that was a single from this album, right? Fantastic. I love how they sing the chorus for it. It's great. SOS, like BB said, really great solo in there. Fantastic. I love that they have Draw the Line hidden in there as well before the album came out. That was kind of a cool touch. Like Last Child's great. It's a really great live album from a band that has live energy, and I think it translates very well to this. Very similar for me with the AC/DC, that they're both bands that the studio stuff sounds great, but there's that fun aspect of the band that you just get a lot more live because Steven Tyler and Joe Perry have such good, just like with Bon Scott and Angus Young, they have such good charisma through their playing and their singing that it really comes through. And I mean, Joey Kramer's drumming is fantastic too, because he's often him and Tom Hamilton are often the last two talked about in the band, but they deserve to be talked about just as much because they sound really good in this. I would love to hear Tom Hamilton's bass turned up a little bit, but that's just me. It's a great live album.
No personal preference.
Yeah.
Dave.
I'm gonna piggyback off you, and I'm actually gonna say, I would say maybe Rockin' a Hard Place is probably their last album before they kind of like I love 70s. I really 70s enjoyed 70s Aerosmith. 80s I just thought they kind of lost it, but this it's certainly obvious by this, like you were saying, even with the album they have bootleg on twice. They were kind of poking a joke at with the producers where everybody was going to shows and recording it, and that was a great time to be alive too, because then you can go to Electric Mine Shaft and grab Alcatraz and just grab something that some schmo just made and he just sold it, and it was a wonderful time. But you really get there's not a lot of overdubbing here that was involved to fix up any of those tracks, and you really get this band, and it really gave me an appreciation for them that was refreshingly authentic to a time that they were really probably at a low point in their lives from an emotional perspective and from a personal perspective. I understand they sobered up, but I mean they were doing good things rock and roll wise, but they probably were doing good things for themselves there. Really, this album just has pretty much every classic here. You got Back in the Saddle, Sweet Emotion, Last Child, even Sick as a Dog is I think my favorite song from this album. It's just really, really wonderful. Mama Ken, I love too. We used to do Mama Ken. There's no response for some reason. Nobody liked Mama
Really?
Ken. Like, yeah, I don't get it. Yeah,
Tell them it's a Guns N' Roses song.
It's a vacuum. But I even like their 73. What do they cover a Yardbird song? I Ain't Got You, which is very much slower if you listen to the original.
And you can tell that's recorded in
James
the club.
Brown's Mother Popcorn, which is another, just to tackle that, is a great thing. I like it. And I'll have to say, piggyback off of what Dylan said, and really, Kramer and Hamilton, they really are the underdogs here, I think, on this album, too. Because the solos are the solo Joe Perry does, what Joe Perry does, but those guys are just thundering, just like Phil Rudd and Cliff Williams are. And I like that in a live album because it's the meat and potatoes that really gets it done. And the other thing I really enjoyed about this album is Stephen Perry doesn't cop out at all. Back in the Saddle, he's screaming to the point that he's losing his voice. I mean, that's hard to do. And then you're thinking, he's not going to do that again. And he does it again. And he does it again. And he does it, and then he does it on the next side. And granted, it's night after night, but that's a lot. That's a lot to ask of a human being. It's a lot. And he just gets up there and does it. They're his tunes, and he's owning them, and I really enjoy that. So that to me makes this a really authentic live album, and I really appreciated it again. So I'm glad you chose this one because it brought Aerosmith back into my headlights, where all of a sudden I'm looking at him again. I'm thinking, geez, maybe I'll start revisiting some old Aerosmith again.
Remember Aerosmith back then?
Back in the day. I'll have to get my Toys in the Attic t-shirt out. Yes. I busted out with my Underdog one. Get out of retirement.
Steve.
All right, Aerosmith, live bootleg. There are a couple albums in my life that formed my musical, what I listen to today. This is one of them. I'm like BC. I've always been a live album guy. Absolutely. And so Aerosmith live bootleg, Frampton Comes Alive, Kiss Alive 2, Ted Nugent Double Live Gonzo. Those are the 4 albums that formed what you're listening to right now from me, live-wise, album-wise. My cousin and I really have a lot of my musical, I don't know if you want to call it tastes or likes that I have now to my cousin Robin's record collection. She had Aerosmith Get Your Wings. There was Aerosmith live bootleg there. There was Frampton Comes Alive was there. Styx Grand Illusion. So like in that little frame of album, I mean there was other stuff that I'm like, like Boz Scaggs and shit like that. I was like, no, that sucks. But but like listening to these albums really kind of formed what I would listen to the rest of my life. So that's like 78. So that's like a long fucking time ago. But this album, I've always liked this. I have my original vinyl of that as well. Back in the Saddle. And what I like about this album is, and I think Dave touched on it a little bit as well, that when these were recorded, the majority of these were recorded, these guys were fucking toast. These guys were ripped the fuck up.
They were burnt toast.
Hammered.
The toxic
drugs. Everything. Over-toured. And I love the rawness of Steven's vocals in a lot of these songs. You're like, how the fuck is he doing that? And like they said, how's he doing it again? He just did it again right there. He did it again. And for my thing, for this album, I think Brad Whitford is like the unsung hero, even more than Joey Kramer and Tom Hamilton, because he is a friggin' fantastic, and he plays a lot of these solos that people think that Joe Perry plays.
Yeah. Like in Last Child.
Like Last Child. That's fucking Brad Whitford. And when you listen to this with the headphones on, you can hear the difference between the two of them, and you know who's playing what. Sweet Emotion, Talk Box Time, awesome Tom Hamilton, do bass, fucking excellent. Talk Box, love it. Fuck Off, Aaron Martell. Talk Box is fucking awesome. I don't give a shit what the fuck you say. But listen to Sweet Emotion of this. That ramped up part at the end. The killer solo at the end with the dual guitars. I mean, that's the both of them. That's the both of those guys playing. Lord of the Thighs. I'm with BB, one of my favorite Aerosmith songs. Killer track. Joe Perry tears it up on this one. And Brad plays another huge solo. Like, I think he plays like the last solo in the song, which plays out long. And I like that Brad Whitford gets a chance to shine in a lot of these songs. And people, the casual Aerosmith fan does not even realize that. It's all Joe. Oh, it's Joe Perry. It's Joe Perry. It's not all Joe Perry. A lot of it is Brad Whitford. And when I saw him play with Whitford St. Holmes on the Kiss Cruise, they did a lot of these songs that feature Brad Whitford, and he fucking tore it up. And I spoke with him briefly on the cruise. Super nice, super humble guy. Definitely, in my opinion, the unsung hero in Aerosmith. Toys in the Attic, friggin' song fucking rips. And, it's got it. Dave's got the shirt. Last Child, this is like the Brad Whitford song. Because when the album first came out and they were getting reviewed, Joe Perry kicks ass on this solo. Brad Whitford does all the soloing on that song. So that's all Brad Whitford. Come Together, Beatles cover. Once again, I love when other people do the Beatles songs because they sound fucking better. And I like the do-do-do-do-do-do-do. I love the drums in that one. Walk This Way, cool version. Aaron, more talk box for you, buddy. But you know what? When listening to this album for prep for this episode, I hadn't listened to Aerosmith in a long time. And it was cool to go back because this took me right back to listening to my cousin's album, sitting in front of that stereo, listening to this stuff and going, like, for the first time, like, wow, like, there's more to Kiss in the world. Holy shit, these guys are great. You know what I mean? It was like one of those kind of moments listening to this album. And I think, I don't know, one of you guys said, it might have been BB, that you get the songs that you don't normally get, or it might even been Dylan, like the Sick as a Dog you get. You get that. You get like Sight for Sore Eyes, Chip Away the Stone. Chip Away the Stone is freaking fantastic. Yeah. The chorus is a rock classic earworm. Chip Away. It's freaking fantastic. Sight for Sore Eyes, Mama Kin. It's so good that Aerosmith did a cover of that Guns N' Roses song, Mama Kin. Even back in the day, they did it. SOS Too Bad. Really great deep track. Like, people are like, what the fuck song is this? But it's friggin' fantastic. Mother Popcorn, you could tell that this song was spliced because you could tell Mother Popcorn's like from a club, and then Draw the Line was when they were really falling the fuck apart.
They're from 73, right, too?
Yeah.
They're
yeah.
way early.
Yeah. So, like, how they spliced it good, but, like, Draw the Line is like the last album with the original lineup before they went to Rockin' a Hard Place. But it's great. And I'm like, it's a great James Brown feel, not realizing that Mother Popcorn was a James Brown song until after I, like, literally wrote that. I mean, I'm like, fuck, James Brown. Train Kept It Rolling. Since I heard Get Your Wings, absolutely love that song. There's no bad version of that one. They put a little guitar solo in there. Okay, I can live without that, but I forgive them for that. But awesome set ender. Fun album. Takes me right back to my formative years of listening to music. Guys, I love this classic shit. Absolutely fucking love it. I'm holding this shit up in the air, by the way, guys. Love this stuff. This takes me right back to my formative years of listening to music, getting into it, and this is the foundation of what made me a live music fan. It really is. Albums I've listened to over and over. I own them all on vinyl. Of course, my Aerosmith, the Dio or the Black Sabbath, and AC/DC. I have all my original ones of that. The Kansas one, I only recently got into them from, thanks to Dave. And Scorpions, Tokyo Tapes, my first Scorpions album that I got. Like right after that, I got. And you were right, Dave. You couldn't find these old Scorpions albums back in the day. You couldn't find Lonesome Crow or Virgin Killer, or you couldn't find those albums. You just could not get them.
Well, even nowadays, like, you could download everything. where I lived in Crystal Lake and then Simpson. Where do you find
shit?
the Scorpions album?
Right.
Sugarman's?
Right.
Where do you find that in an album? Like, I feel bad for Dylan because you didn't get to grow up with this stuff. That's the thing. Like, everything has to be an introduction to you, and that's gotta be very weird. It's almost like when I try to convince my son, and I have to sell him like a
Come on,
car
Jake.
salesman, and I'm working on commission. I have to sell him. Come on, boy. I have to sell him, boy.
That's me.
I'll
with
buy
him.
you whatever. Just listen to this
Give it a
album.
chance.
Just listen to the Pixies start to finish. Like, just listen. Just give it a chance. And that kind of stuff. Where
Jake, outside there's a boxcar waiting.
But exactly. But you want to try to convey how important something is and how
Why it's important to you.
because it could be eye opening.
Right.
It's eye opening.
Yep.
At a very young age, I mean, Ames was. You could walk to it for us.
Mm-hmm.
You
Ames
go
is-
there and you'd be going through. Everybody else goes. I went right to the record place.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
How many times? I don't know. I couldn't even tell you how many times I walked from my house down 8th Avenue to Ames record department. Boom! Paper out money.
What
Yep,
were they getting?
paper.
What kind of stuff were they getting in there?
Yeah, but I mean they were a foundation though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They really were. So like once we got older, where we were allowed to go on the bus, to Scranton,
Rouse
we go to
Records.
Rouse Record City. You hit the Globe. You could hit the listening booth and
I
stuff.
remember going to Gallery of Sound and for the Scorpions album and waiting because they went on sale at midnight. And my brother Mark and I he had gotten his driver's license. He was 16, I was 15, and we went there and stood in line.
No offense, Mark, but I thought you were much older than Dave. I'm sure you won't be listening, but if you are, just in case, Mark, seriously, I thought you were much older than Dave. But not meaning leaving like
Well,
2 or
if he-
3 years, not
if
like
he
a
was
year
listening,
older.
He's not going to be anymore.
But yeah, I mean, this stuff does it. I mean, it obviously does not take Dylan back, or maybe not as much even BB. Those couple of years make a big difference when stuff like that.
It was so important to you that you did it. That's
It
the
was,
thing.
it was.
You actually made a conscious effort. I'm getting up to buy a rock album today, and
Yeah.
you put a conscious
Yeah.
effort into it.
You
Well,
put
these
money
guys can
away.
just do
Yeah.
that,
And
pull
you
out your
didn't
phone
have
there
4
you go.
songs released on streaming that you were able to check out before the album came out, or
You didn't
even
see
people
the-
that aren't
you
even
didn't see
buying
the-
the albums.
and that's what makes it
you never saw.
special.
Yeah.
You never heard of songs. You never saw the album cover before it came out. You never saw anything until you went to the store. You're
Yeah.
like,
Right. Well,
Like, well, this cover's cool, I'll
once
buy
in a
this
while,
cover.
you would see the album cover, 'cause like in
Very few.
because I remember,
Circus.
like I knew the Peace of Mind.
Yeah, really.
Peace of Mind ad in the Billboard magazine that I
Very
tore
few,
out and
but-
hung on my wall before it came out. But like you didn't know track. You're right. You didn't know track
you don't
listings
have
or
that no more.
no.
You
The,
going okay?
the mystery of
The mystery of what it
music
is
coming out is
gone.
totally fucking gone,
Yep.
and that's something that would be awesome to come back. It will never
No,
happen.
All the grid's gonna go.
The only way the grid's gonna go is if you go off the
Virginia
grid.
can only handle so much power.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
can't take it.
Yeah. So yeah, guys, we'll go around. We'll wrap up here. Give your final thoughts and rank your albums, and we'll get out of
Oh
here.
boy.
Since Dave, we'll go with Dylan first. I know Dylan's prepared
He's
for
been too
this.
quiet. That's what he's doing.
I don't know if I could rank these.
Yeah.
I like all of them.
And it's fun, not to cut you off. Today, I'm like, you know what? This is what I'm thinking. Everybody's ranking is going to be all over the place.
Yeah, it really is personal preference. Like what album I would go to first before the other ones, because I like all these albums for different reasons. So I guess just in terms of familiarity, maybe I'd probably go AC/DC #1 because that's the one that I've gone to the most. I remember being scared shitless by the cover of it as a kid. Like I would see the cover, I'm like, oh my god, that guy's getting murdered on the cover. What's happening?
Dad's got a perk.
Then I'd probably go Aerosmith because like a lot of great memories, and I loved my journey through coming to like that album. Then I'd go Kansas, Black Sabbath, and Scorpions because I haven't had enough time to let Scorpions delve into me, and Uli John Roth should not sing. But I like all these albums. They're really great classic rock albums that showcase the bands in very different ways and showcase kind of different eras of the band that you might not immediately think of, like with Black Sabbath, the Dio like transition of the Ozzy stuff. Like you would never have thought that there would be material of Dio singing Ozzy Black Sabbath songs out there. Like that took me a while to find that out. But I think this was a really cool episode that everybody brought some really great stuff to. And you can listen to all of not all of the songs, some of the songs from each album on our Spotify playlist of the week. I'm going to have the nice little highlights there for everybody. Not maybe one Uli John Roth song, maybe Polar Nights, but it's it'll be a coin
Disregard
toss.
the vocals.
Ignore the vocals if you do.
It's great.
But I think everybody picked some really fantastic albums. Dave, thanks for coming on. Great job, everybody.
BB?
Yeah, definitely. Doctor, Coach, Dave, thanks for coming on. As always, love to have you here and your awesome perspective of classic rock. These albums are this is going to be a little tough. I think there's a great foundation for rock music live versions, and these 5 albums are easily probably the top 10. If you go, somebody puts out a top 10 live album ever, these 5 albums are going to slide in there somewhere. These are just really, really good albums. I think the only one I'm gonna copy off of Dylan is AC/DC is one. It's just iconic, and there's like no skippers. Number 2 is going to be the surprise of the night, Dylan. Kansas, 3 Scorpions. BC, we'll give you 4, and I'll go last because sometimes Dio can't sing Ozzy, but great episode, great live stuff. I can't wait to get into this episode a little bit deeper and see what else everybody brings to the table. If we do a little early 80s live stuff, but yeah, great episode. Everybody brought some amazing stuff to the table.
Dave, what do you got for us, buddy?
I have to start by. I had to do a double take. I only saw your hat, and it said music by. All I could see from where I was sitting was N. Carpenter, and I'm thinking, okay, music by Karen Carpenter. So be it. And then he turned just when we were starting this. I said, John Carpenter. I went, wow, okay.
I would wear that.
All
I would wear the
now
Karen
I
Carpenter
got
hat.
it. It's okay. I hold you in a different light now. I thought, okay. He's got a Star Wars shirt on, the Karen Carpenter. He's stuck in the 70s.
Listen, if you
Stuck
find
in
me a
78.
He loves it.
If you find me a Karen Carpenter hat, I will wear the hell out
Well,
of it.
I just assumed it was N. Carpenter. I didn't know any other N. Carpenters. I did a double take. I'm going to probably do these because they're all great albums. I mean, I have to agree with that. We're all going to agree on the same because, again, rock hit perfection in '78. But how they influenced me as a music lover. So it's got to be AC/DC, If You Want Blood. That album is just. Man, it defines me as a person. Not even as a person that there's guys that are guitar players. I'm a person that plays guitar. There's a difference. But as a music lover, that was it. Then I'm gonna have to go Tokyo Tapes because that's just it just defines me. Kansas. Then it's gonna be Live Evil, and then it's gonna be Aerosmith. And that's just me as a person. It's how it influenced me.
PC.
Nice. Thanks for coming on, Dave.
Yep.
They always bring that element. Like I said, you bring the classic element. Dylan brings the new age element. I mean, there's many elements of music being brought to the table, but I there's no picking. Like my ranking's not any. I like this better than this. There's none tonight. They're all great, but going off the show and what we listened to prepare for this, out of these albums, I'm gonna go number 1, Kansas. Number 2, Scorpions.
Wow.
Number 3 is AC/DC because I love AC/DC, and Black Sabbath.
All right. I don't know if you had anything to add to that.
I just those two. I mean, everything brought back
They
memories,
bring back the memories. That's the
Right.
thing. About
except for the Kansas.
Right.
But I mean, I can remember being in that truck and just driving him. He listened to nothing but Scorpions. And I would say, hey, check these guys out. Check Maiden out.
Scorpions.
He's like, oh, I'm good.
Scorpions.
And I'm like, all right. I mean,
I get
Scorpions.
it. I get it because
Yeah.
I mean that was my world back then. That
Yeah.
was it.
And the thing is too,
You have
back
nobody to
then,
relate to, though.
if you get into a mode, it's easier to do that back then because now there's so much more stuff. So you can focus on a band
Back
a lot
then.
more you can back then than you can now. Because there's so much stuff out there. Even by the bands that you were focusing on back then, there's so much more stuff. But back then, you were able to narrow your scope a little more than you can now.
Yeah.
So I could see where he'd be like, no, fuck that. And you know what? It's his vehicle, so you're going to, drivers in control of the music. That's how it goes. We go somewhere.
I agree.
Unless Carson's driving his fucking hip hop nation,
Especially
whatever
with
the
the older
fuck.
guys, though, when you get to the older rock. I have a whole bunch of friends that are older than me that still say to me, a buddy of mine just said, many years ago, 3-4 years ago, if you don't listen to Flat as a Pancake, there's something the matter with you.
Love it.
And
Love
I
it.
listened to that, and it changed my reality. I mean, what a wonderful band that lasted, 2 years? That's about it. All they do is tour. I don't think
Yeah.
they have anything. But, man, what a piece of work. And it just changes. But the music's out there. You just got to find it. That's what it is. And that's kind of what this is so
You
special.
have to be willing to look for it.
Right.
Because I have buddies, and they're probably listening right now that won't branch out, whatever. I mean, hey, more power to you, but you know what? I really think you're missing out on a lot of stuff. Whether it be new bands that are out now or going back and listening to stuff like Dave talked about, Flat as a Pancake, Head East. Love Head East Live. I did that for my birthday albums.
Oh, fantastic.
Fucking love it. That's a regular on my fucking turntable at the house. Regular on my headphones on my phone. Absolutely fantastic. So, and once again, Dave, thank you. Love having you on the show. You are fantastic. You are our 70s guy. You give us so much more insight and have way more info and stuff than we do, than we could ever hope to have. And like you're the 70s version of us.
The 80s
You know,
stuff, you leave me in the
you know,
dust. The
but,
90s current stuff.
and it was funny because when I
dinosaur.
threw the topic out there, I'm like, okay, here's what we're gonna do. Dave's like, well, how about Blowers to Call? I'm like, well, no, we're doing that like on our album things. So he's like, okay. So then he said Kansas. I said, nope, that's already picked. He's like, well, Dylan had to pick that one. I'm like, yeah, he did. So then Dave picked Scorpions Tokyo Tapes, and I'm thinking he's going to pick Scorpions Tokyo Tapes. So boom, and he did. So we got it. So
You don't need to worry.
yeah,
We're all so predictable.
Yeah. So as far as the rankings go, I'm going with Aerosmith live bootleg because that was one of my early formative live albums that made me love live albums, live music. And next, I'm going to go with my own AC/DC. That's really, of all the rest of the albums, the one that I will play the most out of the rest that we talked about. Scorpions will be next. My first Scorpions album that I picked up. There's some skippers on there. I love the Uli songs musically, not so much vocally, but I can get past that. I'm gonna go with BB. I'm gonna go with Kansas next because of the surprise factor. And the only reason that I didn't go with Sabbath next is because of the production on the album.
Yeah.
And the couple of the extra shit that Dio throws in that pisses me off. But
Maybe that's why we pick it.
perhaps Dr. Evil over there. I see with the pinky and the fucking finger in the mouth. But you know, we can't have an episode without doing that little grindage every now and then. But I love doing these ones. I love live music, love live albums, love concerts, love listening to it, love watching it, and. Always awesome having Dave on here. Always awesome having everyone's input here. Everyone brings something different to the table, and it's just been a great. And this is the first that the us four have been recorded in a while. I think because I think we did me and you BB, then we did Vacation, then we
Mr.
did
Big, and Vacation.
Then we did Vacation. We're back this week with our awesome edition of Dave this week. So, guys, thank you for listening. We love talking about this stuff, and it's just get out there, listen to. This is your task for the week. I always say listen to an album front to back once a week. You will love yourself for it. Listen to a live album this week. Pick an album between 1983 and below that. Pick a live album, check it out, listen to it front to back. Let us know what you checked out and how much happier your life is because you did that. And I personally recommend Head East Live. Would be awesome to listen to, by the way. But guys, listen, get out there, go to a show, listen to an album, listen to a live album. We love you guys. And
the actual album.
What?
Buy the actual album.
Buy the album, yes. And BC wants you to buy the new Lillian Axe album. You better have it in your hands by the time you listen to this one. So, guys, thank you very much for hanging in with us, and we love you guys. Take care of yourselves and each other, and we will see you next time, and there definitely will be a next time.